What am I doing? I ain't got to apologize for shit.
Because they do illogical things.
There we go. I posted in VIP what I was going to say. Trubs can look.
I will be delighted when I see it.
I even turned it into a JoJo reference just for Trubs.
Damn, Daniel.
Now that I can do, because I have the Twitch app.
It's very sweaty.
Ah, yes, I see. I also appreciate the fact that this is my first time launching the Twitch app in so long, and it just immediately went to CAD. It knew. Now I want to play the first Metal Gear Solid.
That is the Kojima effect.
Yeah. No, that's Sniper Wolf. Although, if you wanted to be funny, you could just be like, no, this is Ava if she was in the Arctic.
It's not because we don't have a back shot.
It's okay. The sweaty titty scene there is close enough. Sorry, I'm still futzing around with this raspberry seed. I'm getting very angry. Today.
Did you already exclamation point R? It's bedtime for me.
Good night, Trobes.
Don't wear pants.
And he was never heard from again.
No.
Goodbye. No, you don't.
では、前に出ます。
I wasn't gonna tell him yes I did. I just had to leave. The only way you can respond to an accusation of not loving someone. Hello, chat. How's it going? As you guys can see, Dino did another fantastic artwork for us. And we also have the go live tweet out and ready. I am getting plugged in on my end. Oh. And I hope everybody had a good weekend. We did not get to do D&D yesterday, as I pinged y'all. Apologies for that. I just sat down and played some Helldivers and some League. As I know, chat loves both of those two games. But I asked Dino to do this piece because probably not tonight. Well, maybe tonight. We'll see. But basically, I've got the Metal Gear remake on the docket. So League? Oh yeah, League. That game that I go in and play bot games because I'm not good enough to actually play League. Although apparently they're adding WASD movement, so it should be better for me in the future. I thought we were all playing Silksong. No, that would require me to have played the first game. By the way, I do not have the sauce for Dino's piece because he has not posted yet. I think he said he'll post it Friday, so unfortunately you guys will not get it until then. Let me grab you guys today's sauce, and hello everybody. The real folk blues. Okay. So, we still have not unlocked the level 90 node on NA. So there is still time. I was actually capped on my storm pods though. So I will probably go and do those first here, because I feel like that's a better use of my AP at the moment, since again, we don't have the highest end nodes. Better to keep storm pods down until we get to like the 90 plus and 90 plus plus. But again, hope everybody had a good weekend. Hope everybody had a productive one. Mine was I got some cleaning done. I got some cooking done. Oh, I forgot to post you guys the pictures. I made black bean soup, which maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but my mother's made it for me before, and it's really good. I love it. It's a just very like kind of hearty soup, and you could actually technically make it heartier if you wanted to, but I basically did it with like just, a ton of black beans, some stewed tomatoes, some celery, some onions, some garlic, like sauteed all the celery, onions, and garlic together. Poured that in the pot with some chicken broth, poured all the stewed tomatoes and the black beans in, simmered it for about an hour, stirring it every so often. And it came out really good. I just had some of it earlier. And then I'm thinking of actually, I was going to do it tonight because I basically, what was it? There was some reason that I was, oh, right, because there's like not that much going on, so I was thinking like, oh, okay, like maybe I'll cook tonight. But unfortunately, I forgot to defrost my pork because I have some pork tenderloins, and I have some sweet peppers. I have a little bit of leftover onion, so I'm gonna make a really nice like pork dish, and then I figure I can kind of intersperse that with the soup this week to both stretch the soup out a little bit longer and also to make sure if I really feel the itch that I have something else to eat and some meat at that. So it has it's been going good. I gotta figure out what I want to do for next weekend here, but it is definitely nice. It's very good. My mom makes it sometimes. Yeah. And so like I meant to buy some saltines because I went to the grocery store today because I did grocery delivery over the weekend and the person like totally messed up the order. I thought I wasn't going to be able to do the meal in the end, but I actually had a leftover can of black beans. Even though it was pretty old, it still tasted good. So it was after its Best Buy date, and I was just like, well, as long as it's fine. And Ahado, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Raids to give me some bond to my Tamamo and Summer Tiamat and Noah. Yeah, I actually didn't farm the raids probably as much as I should have. I think I did somewhere in the order of like... It was like 35 plus kills, I think. I think it may have been somewhere in the 40 range, but like... I didn't do it as much as I should. I still did it some, but like it was a really good raid. I just was like, I kind of just feel like chilling out and like playing other stuff. So it is what it is. And I think this is just one of those things where I think just like with Tunguska, but admittedly not nearly as bad. But just like with Tunguska, it's like when you give me a time limited raid like that, it gets annoying and it kills my desire to do it. Which is really funny because I saw a ton of people saying the raid would not last the day, and then the devs did increase it. My problem with this is that the JP devs keep doing this sort of thing, where they let it get super low and then they increase it, and I'm like, you're kind of killing the enthusiasm to do it when somebody like logs in and the raid is already 90% dead. It makes you feel like you can't get much of anything done. And then simultaneously, I'm also like, because you are seemingly limiting it to just a part of the day instead of the entire day, I have other shit I have to get done. So it's like, if it's just not at an opportune time, which in my case it was not, I needed to cook, I needed to clean, I needed to basically get a bunch of stuff set up. I was just like, well, it is what it is. Because I thought we were going to have D&D last night, but we ended up not. So like I was cooking and cleaning all ahead of that, expecting to have to get all of that done. And then basically we ended up not having D&D, but like the raid also got extended. So it was just like kind of dumb to me. Is that NA will kill the raid before it starts again? Yeah, maybe, right? Now, I like, in general, I just think it's a really poor design choice. I don't like it. I think they're like trying to drum up excitement and stuff like that, and I think it has the inverse effect. I do think you get some people that are out there and they're really gung-ho right out the rip, and they do it, but I think like if you made the day or the raid an entire day's worth, they would also spend the entire day farming it. Like I don't think there's any actual enthusiasm metric to how limited they make the raid, and I feel like if anything it probably, like I said, discourages some people when they realize that the raid is mostly dead already. Pull out the FOMO, yeah. So it's like I've long held the stance, I will still retain it. I held the exact same stance with Tunguska, that it's like, don't make something time limited during the day. As long as you don't, we're good. As if you do, I have major issue with it because it just naturally is good for some people and not for others. I think the health bar discourages me from doing the raid. Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Like, because I feel like at least with regards to like, for instance, if you were to look at like the pre-raids, like the first couple raids for Tunguska, I felt like those are exactly what I'm talking about. Meanwhile, if you look at the final raid for Tunguska, that is how it should have been. We should have seen that for this one, and it felt like that's what it was designed to do, but I guess people just jumped right out of the gate and farmed it as hard as they could at first. Which, low-key, kind of surprising, because I'm going to be real with y'all, like, the more veteran you are, the less important that raid was. So it's kind of surprising to me to see people, like, farm it as hard. I still get it, but there's no, like, super pressing need at that point. I think the big things to me were the LB4 materials that were in there. And, again, the 5-star embers I think are nice. I had zero motivation to do those mech enemy raids in the middle of Tunguska. Yeah. So it's like, at least with the Tunguska end raid, you knew it was going to last a full 24 hours. And that worked because everyone was just like, okay, cool. I can just log in at some point and farm it. Whereas like with JP, you're like, I don't know that it's going to last 2 hours. And that is kind of the problem that you run into. I feel like, again, they do themselves a disservice when they do stuff like that. Also, I will admit, it is kind of insane that, and we didn't really talk about this, so they had just increased the cap to 180 at the start of the year with Grand Duel. We still have, 3 Grand Duels left? Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. We have Archer, Caster... No, we have 4, because it's a Rider and Assassin. So we still have 4 Grand Duels left. And they've already increased the cap up to 190. I don't really understand. Because, at least from the standpoint of how they had been doing it, they have said that they have waited for the, quote, majority of active players to hit the cap before they expand it. And I'm like, well, I definitely know there are some people that had already ground out to 180 using the duels. Sorry, I spelled that wrong. I can guarantee you it is not the majority. So this results in a change of strategy with regards to that. I don't really know why. Maybe they're thinking that eventually they'll get us to like 200 by the end of the year or something like that. That would be interesting. But I'm kind of wondering if that's something that they're maybe noticing, is that like when people are at like, let's say like 180 out of 180, that their desire to play is kind of down because they don't feel like they have a goal. Whereas like if they can keep increasing the level cap, like let's say now to 190, that it will make some people feel like there is a goal. And I'd be curious to know if like anybody actually got to 190. I doubt they did. But it is linearly scaling and always has been ever since I think it's like 140 plus is where the linear scaling starts. So I really wonder like if somebody actually is already 190, which if so is kind of crazy. Maybe more people than ever before are leveling, even if they aren't at the cap. I mean, it could be something like that. I just, at minimum, like I said, it's not the case that the majority are at 180 still. So that means that they've changed their mentality on the issue. Why? I don't know. I can't think of why, other than it's maybe they're just trying to give people a goal, at least until like the end of the year, right? I think that's, from what I see, I think the devs are actually almost opposed to like Type Moon at this point. I think the devs, and when I say this, not like entirely, okay? But I feel like Type Moon, aka Nasu, Takeuchi and stuff, they want to quote unquote be done. But they know that they can't. And they know that this is a major issue, and they know that it'll be seen as abandoning it if they don't. So I think Type Moon has kind of been, I'm not going to say like phoning it in or anything like that, but I think they are like trying to wrap it up. Okay. Meanwhile, the devs, fearing for their job security, want the game to go on. And so I think that's why you're seeing the devs do everything in their power to try to like get people to Ordeal Call 4, to incentivize them to do so, and to make sure that they have like the maximum number of players playing to present the game in its best possible light. Right? So that's why I'm like sitting there and I'm like, I really wonder if we just have this like opposing stances of like the Type Moon crowd is trying to wrap it up and the devs are trying to keep it going. And it makes me like wonder what the heck is going on. And it also makes me like kind of terrified for the game, because I don't think it's a good thing when your people are of two different mindsets, right? And let's be real. I think that has been the case since at least year 5. I feel like Nasu has his misgivings with this project. It has probably gone on far longer and been far greater in scope than he had ever hoped. I think Nasu had his original intention to write all of part 1 and eventually wrap things up in part 2, but I think he thought that he was going to have more time. I think he thought that the game was not going to be as popular and as demanding as it is, and I think he also thought that he could basically kind of like work on side projects, and I think the lack thereof is what's kind of killing him. I think that's what's making him go like, what the heck, man, I don't want to deal with this. This is silver. Perfect. Damn, this FGO side project is becoming way too big. I mean, let's be real with y'all, right? Like, I'm dead serious when I say this. I think Nasu had planned to do part 1 and part 2 of the game. Okay. What I think the problem is that the game is too popular, so Nasu can't just call it quits. That's why you have Ordeal Call. Because Nasu's like, fuck, dude. Like, it's still doing so well, right? And then I also think that at the same time, he maybe expected that the game was going to wrap up faster. That is to say, like, that part 2 would have been finished, I don't know, in like 5 years or something like that. And let's be real, the entire reason why FGO has gone on 10 years is because of Nasu. Both because he has continued to support it, but also because Nasu is the entire like reason that the game has dragged itself out. There's no other reason than Nasu. So like, at that point, I think like any misgivings or gripes he has about the game can largely still be pointed right back at him. And that's why, like I've said before, it's like, it sucks to hear him say this because it's almost like he's not self-aware. And I think he is. I think he knows, but I think he just likes to bitch and moan. And that's like, it comes out in the interviews sometimes. It's just him venting. That's why Nasu can relate to Archana, specifically going back into the past and confronting a younger person. True. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to see. And I wonder, like, again, like, if this is why, for instance, just bring this back full circle, it's like, oh, that's why the devs are doing what they're doing with regards to, like, 190 and, like, the 1,000 courts and stuff like that. I feel like the devs are trying to convince people to get there and get done. Also, chat, we hit 18,000 subs on YouTube today. So that had been a long time coming. We had been sitting at 17,000 for a while now. On one hand, like I said, I kind of blame myself. I feel like there's things that I need to do to be better, but I'm also going to say that just being frank, I see other FGO content creators and I see that their numbers are also down at times too. So I think it's just in general, it's like less people are watching FGO content on YouTube, sadly, and it just is what it is. I think like there's still a bunch of people playing, there's still a bunch of people interested, but like strategically analyzing everything, I look at it and I see that like I guess to like be frank, it's not that there's not like ways to be successful in the FGO community, but I feel like those ways are you have to be really creative, you have to be really like off the wall and doing like atypical type of things, right? I don't think it's that like the standard guide making format or the standard news making format or the standard analysis types of formats are really working too well right now, because I think who is playing FGO is a bunch of veterans, and the veterans all know what's going on. It is a solved game. And so when something new happens, then there's maybe a little bit of rush, but unfortunately, I think people are so mentally checked out and playing so many multiple gacha games that I think a lot of people are not. They're either just not watching YouTube content for the game anymore, or if they do, they just watch like one video and never watch anything else. So they'll just like watch whatever the first video is that comes out. And that's what I see with it for the most part. I don't think it's that like our content is bad. I think it's just the interest in the game on YouTube is down. It's why I only play one gacha. I don't want to get burnt. Yeah, I understand that. I'm kind of the same way in that regard. A big convincing point in my eyes would be some kind of point system to get 4 stars with certainty. It can be so frustrating trying to get a 4-star sometimes. Yeah, I don't know. Like, on one hand, I feel like the devs are feeling the squeeze because they probably feel pressure from behind, from like Sony and Aniplex and stuff, to like keep doing what they're doing. And they feel forward pressure from the players saying, hey, we want quality of life. Your systems suck. Please improve this. So one end wants them to make more money, one end wants them to make less money, and they are caught in the middle. And it's like, what do? And they kind of have to balance the two. That's kind of been my perception of them for a long time. It's not that the devs are bad people. It's not that they're like idiots or like assholes or anything like that. It is simply that they are in like a really weird spot, and it's kind of a no-win situation for them. Want me to Uber gift you for the mukbang celebration? No, you're good. Also, I did see your message, okay, so I gotta get that handled. Wait, did it? That's super weird. It just like, the capture card just like froze, but only on screen. The second I touched it, it re-updated. But yeah, I think this is like something that a lot of people would like to see is changes to the 4 stars, but I don't know how much the change to the 4 stars would cut into their bottom line. I don't know how much that might be like of a like terrible impact to them. Again, nothing going on in the event right now, chat. And so it makes me kind of wonder, like, is there any real way to do it? Or is it just going to be a perpetual, like, hey, I'm good, I don't need this stuff. And, like, the devs just basically don't touch it. I know for me, like, and this is going to sound like one of the most, like, self-serving, self-centered things that I've probably said on the channel. But honest to God, my enjoyment of FGO, I still love the game. I still love the story, but I will admit I'm beginning to develop a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Because, like, for instance, in the case of Artoria, okay? Artoria has gotten one thing this year so far. What's that one thing? Lartoria got a buff. That's it. That is the only attention. She has not been featured in any story. She has not been really even like a bonus unit in most cases. Like I think there's Bunny right now in the current event. Like it is almost like they are going out of their way not to use her. Now, all of that I think is fine if Artoria features prominently in the part 2 finale. If Artoria does not feature prominently in the part 2 finale, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It will probably irrevocably salt me. I will be deeply upset at the devs and the writers for that. So if they continue that, if they continue this streak and it goes the entire end of the year, and there's really just no Artoria centricity on anything, I don't know how I'm going to feel about the game going forward. Because I was just talking with Bob about this today. And like, don't get me wrong, we've had like for instance, we had JonTron come out, right? So it's not like we didn't get a Saber face. But like one of the things I think that pissed me off was quite literally like nothing at Anniversary and nothing at Summer. And I'm like, come on, guys. It's the 10th Annie. It is Summer 10, and you did nothing. And that's where I'm like, it makes sense if the reasoning for that is because she's going to be featured prominently in upcoming story. If that's the case, that's fine. I yield to them. But if they do not, and that's where this is coming from, is the possibility that they just ignore her, like I said, I will be deeply upset, and it will not make me really want to play the game too much into the future because of the precedence that it sets, and because it will likely lead to probably just more like ignoring her, and the game devs kind of being like, oh, we have enough. And one of the reasons why that is upsetting to me, why I feel like I'm owed something, and I've talked about this at least somewhat before, is that, like, at least as a person that's been playing the game a long time, a person that has spent a ton of money on the game, I feel like the Saber fans especially, but also to a greater extent the Saber face fans, have been who has been bankrolling this game. It's not that there's other people that haven't spent money. It's not that there's other big crowds and stuff like that. But the sheer amount of Saber faces that have been in the game, the sheer amount of Artorias that have been in the game, and you look at that and it's like, yes, I guarantee you some of your biggest whales are Saber fans in particular. So then to not feature her prominently in the entire final year of the story, so to speak, would just, it'd be like a slap in the face, right? If that makes any sense. So that's kind of where this is coming from. is this idea that, like, oh, you're just going to ignore her. What the hell? Right? Because it's like, I'm not asking that we have to have a saber face in every event. I'm not asking that every story has to revolve around saber faces. But holy crap, I would have expected something by now, because there's been kind of a dearth in that regard. Meanwhile, in this time, we are almost at, if we are not comparing saber faces, okay, so let's just instead compare Artoria variants. If you were comparing Artoria variants to Sakura variants, there are still more Artorias, but Sakura is getting damn close. It has kind of been an all Sakura thing for the past 2 years, at least. And that's kind of my point with this, is like, I'm okay with them slowing down on Saber if they're just trying to make things more equal for everybody, but not if they're just going to be like, all right, now it's all Sakura time, because to me that's like, they didn't learn their fucking lesson. At that point, they're literally just going like, oh yeah, we're just going to go hard in the paint for the next thing that we think we can do. And it's like, you do realize that, like, people got burnt out. And that was why there were complaints about the saber faces. And then you do it again, and I have to sit there and go like, you don't learn. They need to pace themselves a little bit better. Like, yeah, where's the next Ren? So, like, Chad, I don't know if you guys remember, but do you guys remember when the Babylonia anime was coming out? And I complained that, like, everything was Ren. Everything was Ren. It was getting to the point that it was becoming suffocating. And I was like, holy shit, they need to slow their roll. And then they did. And then for like years, Ren never got anything ever again until Space Airish. So I don't know what the problem is with the devs, but like I told Bob this morning, it's like, it feels like the devs are either 110% or 0. And there's like no in between. And I'm like, guys, just spread it out. Humans have issues with moderation. Clearly. I must say, Space Airish was the end of a long drought. Yeah, I'm not going to fault anyone. Like the Ren fans have absolutely gotten shafted in this. But it's like, holy crap, dude. Like, you don't need to do all the Saber faces at once. You don't need to do all the Sakura faces at once. You don't need to make a solid 3-month existence only Ren and only Ren campaigns. Just spread it out. It's simple. A new Saber Artoria that is wholly FGO's own. I mean, there's another reason why I say this, chat. Signs point to Artoria being involved with the finale. Okay? What do I mean by that? I don't want to spoil anyone. But if you've paid attention to FGO's lore, it would make a hell of a lot of sense. In fact, I would be very upset if she's not, simply due to the fact that they have heavily hinted at it. So to me, if they don't do it, it is like a rug pull because they have set everything up for her to be there. So if they don't, I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to be like, is this fate? Or is this like some other Nasuverse IP at this point? Ishtar in particular got shafted until her latest buff. No, that I don't agree with. Because, like, I've seen a lot of people say, like, Ishtar was in a bad spot, and it always made me chuckle because Ishtar was still, like, arguably the number 2 archer. And it was basically just Ishtar fans having sour grapes about, like, Gilgamesh. And don't get me wrong, I understand that. But also, like, being number 2 does not mean you're last. Okay? You could always have been Arjuna instead. You could always have been Arthur instead. It's way worse, chat, to have like some other alternative. It's gonna be Arthur Proto. I'm gonna be real with y'all right now. And I'm sorry, Arthur fans. I have to apologize if I've ever led you on. I do not believe Arthur will get a lick of story before the end of part 2. I do not believe it will involve Arthur. I do not believe he will be there. I think we got fucked on that one. And I also think they have done Arthur dirty. Because Arthur desperately needs an NP interlude. He is not unusable, but quite literally you should probably be using every other saber. And that's a problem. So at that point, I feel really bad for people that are like major Arthur simps and stuff like that. Because, again, they have not gotten anything. I hope Arthur becomes more prominent in part 3. I, like, at this point, chat, I just hope there is a part 3. I think, like, in that regard, we know the game will continue on. I am worried about the potential for there to be more story. I think there will be. I think it's Nasu still trying to, like, debate us. But there is this sneaking part of me in the back of my head that thinks that, like, oh, if like basically December 31st, we complete the part 2 story, that on 1/1 there's not going to be a new like trailer or something for something to come. Because that's historically how they've done it. And I am worried that like when that day comes to pass, New Year's Day, that there's nothing. And I think that will sadly hurt this game really bad. You think Tucson will become 3-son? You mean San-san? I hope so. I think Mr. 2 has had points where he has been made a fool, where he has said something and it has come across as a lie. And I feel like most of the time it's not been his fault. I think the only quote-unquote lie that I can actually truly say that Mr. 2 has ever told is that Mr. 2 said no more CQs during Lottos. And then he lied because we had Tesla Fest. And that one, I 100% hold on him. I don't care if he wasn't even in charge or didn't even touch the event. I hold him to that one. Because Tesla Fest to me was the worst Lotto we've ever had. At least in terms of design, okay? I know some people loved the CQs at Tesla Fest. To me, those two things do not belong together. So that's why I call it the worst one. So that's the only part that I can actually say like, oh, Mr. 2 lied. because he went out on an island, said, hey, we're not going to do this. We understand the community doesn't like it. And then they did it. And not only did they did it, they did the worst one they've ever done. So that's why I say, like, okay, he's got a point where he's lied. On things like the coins, on things like the appends, I don't think Mr. 2 lied. I think Mr. 2 earnestly believed what he said, and I think Mr. 2 got fucked by the monetization department. I think, like, Aniplex behind the scenes was turning the screws and saying, we need more money for Papa Sony, and I think they were not allowed to implement the fixes to that system. I think his hands were tied, and there was nothing he could do about it. Now, you could maybe say that he should have communicated better. You could maybe say that Mr. 2 should have been more transparent and talking about it and saying, like, hey, sorry, guys, my hands are tied. I don't think I can do this. But that's not Japanese culture. That would be the equivalent of throwing your boss under the bus. And they will not do that because that will get them in major trouble and or lose them their job. So it is what it is. Did I farm much yesterday? Not really. I got like 35, 40 kills, something like that. I just had a chill day. Was that where we had CQs? You can't use servants in more than one gauntlet? Yeah, kind of like the Olga fight. And it's, like I said, to me, I don't mind them having stuff like that. For instance, like, do I mind the Olga fights? Other than, like, the Earth one, not really, no. I think the Olga fights are largely okay. Why are the Olga fights okay? Because they don't happen during an event. That actually makes them great in that regard. They're a like time spender at a point where you don't have to like worry about doing other things. So to me, the Olga fights feel like, at least in that regard, schedule wise, they're paced well. As opposed to I feel like, at least with Tesla Fest, the issue was that not only did you have those coil quests, you also had old CQs, new CQs, and it resulted in the most ever challenge fights ever in the history of the game in any one event. And I feel like that was just a total misstep, and like, to me, it came across as them being kind of tone deaf. A standalone challenge, yep. And they're permanent? No, only Earth is permanent. Once you fight them, they're gone. Like, they stick around during their campaign, but then they go away after that, unless you haven't fought it. So, like, they're there for the first time. Lotos are for farming, not 45-minute CQs. Right. And I feel like the amount of time you spend playing a lotto is already, like, harsh enough as is. I feel like anything where they're trying to make you do more during that time period is bad. I think it's bad for player retention. Permanent is you can do the first time anytime. Correct. Yeah, that in that regard, you're right. Hey, Kayotsu, how's it going? Yeah, if you want a Grand Beast, you have to do the Olga fights. If you don't want a Grand Beast, you technically don't have to, but you will miss out on some quartz in Annie 10, as well as quartz in each campaign that a new Olga fight launches in. Because there's always a like time-limited mission for it. It's not the end of the world. Like, for instance, the new player account did not do the Olga fight, obviously, right? So it technically missed out on, I think, 10 quartz there. Would I like that 10 quartz? Yes, absolutely. Was I going to, like, kill myself and bend over backwards to get everything done in time for that? No. No, I was not. Thankfully, Olga herself is a cheat in the Olga fights. Yeah. Also, blue torches and extra class unlocks and class score. Yes, that is actually true. So I think it's Pretender. Did we get one for beating the first one, chat? Because I know Pretender and Beast unlock from this. I don't remember if there were other classes that did. Foreigner? Was Foreigner one? Yeah, so there is that at least. Like, if you want to work on class score for some of the other extra classes, it'll be a thing. Now, granted, you can still level up the class score. It just won't apply to those characters until you've done the unlock. Do you think there will be any more Olga fights? No. I mean, unless there's like something in the finale, right? But as far as these are, as far as like the Olga fights have been, no, I do not believe there will be another one. I think that just really boils down to how should I put it? Like, we have all the pieces of Exodia. I think that's the best way to look at it, is that there doesn't seem like there would be any reason to do another one. Though I think they learned a lot from the concept, and I would not be at all surprised to see them do something like the Olga fights in the future. Just maybe with like a different spin on it. My only son. I remember almost quitting during the Nero Fest that had King Hassan and MHX ACQs. They were so difficult that it made me depressed when I couldn't do it. I eventually beat them, but it was tough. Yeah, I've said this before too, because I've seen people tell me that, like, like, for instance, like, Castoria is bad for the game, right? And they sit there and they say this, and they say it because, like, they don't like that Castoria makes the game easier. They like the challenge of the game. I feel like that is a perfectly fine stance to have for yourself as an individual. If you are somebody that enjoys challenge content and you feel like some of these other units are like kind of ruining the enjoyment, I get that, okay? However, having such a stance and trying to believe that everybody else should believe it and that everybody else should be beholden to it is a complete and total non-starter to me. I have seen people say this and like tried to get everybody on board and be like, everybody should hate Castoria because of this. That shit just salts me. Because not only in general do I not like it when someone is just hating on a unit, okay? And I understand at least the standpoint of, like, you're talking about the gameplay, not the character, okay? In that regard, if you're talking about the character, absolutely, it's like, no, guys, stop. But when it's the gameplay, I think it's a little bit more of a fair argument. But on top of that, you have this idea of you're trying to, like, manipulate the perception of the community overall. That, in the end, is just kind of, like, bad to me. I feel like FGO has too many bad actors already that kind of do that stuff, and I don't like seeing it. It's one of the reasons why I've tried to, like, at least be FGO's voice of reason at times, to tell people it's like, hey, you know, no, that's kind of an insane take, right? And I know, like, I have my own opinions. I spout them constantly on this channel and stuff like that, but I always present them as my own opinion and not as, like, one that you guys have to agree with, okay? But the reason that I, like, categorically disagree with this is because of exactly like you guys are saying there. It's like, oh man, like, I was gonna quit if I like didn't get through it because I was so depressed at how difficult this was. And I've seen people say it's like, oh, that's the reason challenge content is dying is because of Castoria. And I'm like, no. Some people don't like challenge content. Some people just want to have fun. The fun for some people is challenge. Fun for other people is not challenge. And people have to understand that there are two different schools of thought on this. As somebody that enjoys a good challenge, it does not bother me, but I guess I see the other side for what it is because I'm empathetic in that regard. And I understand it's like people taking this stance, it's bad. It's a bad thing for the game to have such a stance. You are trying to make people hate a character and hold a character up as the problem when that character is actually a very valuable and highly appreciated tool. You can play the game however you want. Expecting everybody else to play the game how you want them to, that's where the line is. That's where the issue is. So I've never understood people trying to sit there and like shit on Castoria. And I have called people out for it because it is something that like I sit there and I go like, no, it's not bad to have a strong unit that can help you get through stuff, right? Like, and let's revisit this, chat, because there has definitely been somebody that I have used in a lot of examples in terms of power creep, right? Oberon, for instance. Or you know what? Let's go like to a more targeted unit. Let's go to like Melisson. Melisson has been a unit that I brought up a ton on this channel. People probably think I hate Melisson, okay? Which I don't. Why is Melisson my example? Is it because she's too strong for the game's own good? Kind of. But no. The problem is not that Melisson is so strong. The problem is the power creep. The problem is that they made Melisson stand out from the pack in that regard. So having a strong unit is not bad as long as we are like basically raising all of the ships. Okay? You can't just raise one ship with the tide. That's just a wave and it's going to crash into everybody else and destroy them, right? Instead, you have to raise all of them with the tide. All of them have to be elevated to be performing well. Lartari is now number 1. So, yeah, exactly. And so that is kind of the point that I'm making, is not that like, oh, Melisson was at a level that she shouldn't be at in terms of damage output because that was bad for the game. No, it was bad for balance. It was bad for sales, frankly. And it was not serving the devs well in that regard. That was always my point. Not that like, oh no, it's such a problem that Melisson's doing good damage. There's no problem there. There's no issue with a strong unit kicking everyone's ass. And you can apply that same concept to Tiamat, to Kukulkan, to anybody that you feel like is too strong. They are not too strong as in they are breaking the game. They are too strong as in they are throwing balance out and making it so that people are not going to use other units. Therein lies the issue. So if we're going to argue that Castoria is bad for the game because she is too strong, there's kind of a problem there, right? If anything, we should be arguing that other units should start getting on Castoria's level. And therein would cause more power creep, yes, but at least it would level the playing field. And that's why, like, to me, when I see people say this, I realize the argument for what it is. It's basically people just don't want other people to get through challenge content easily. They want other people to suffer so that they can look more impressive for getting through the challenge content. And I'm just like, that's so dumb. And Chad, I want to be clear here. Again, I've done every single challenge pretty much the game has to offer, okay? Avalon, who works with me on a lot of stuff, also likes to do challenge content and challenge runs and time attacks. And neither of us hold those types of opinions because both of us recognize that it's valuable to the game to have assets for new players and more casual players to be able to complete it. So it is, to me, a like obvious thing to hold such a stance, to hold a more open-ended, more like live and let live type of standpoint of like, yeah, if somebody wants to abuse, say, for instance, the Invincible or the Immortal comp for a fight, let them. There is no problem with that. Let them use their command seals. But if they really want to, let them pop a quartz. Okay? They probably shouldn't for obvious reasons. But if like that's how they're going to get through it, and that's how they do it, and that's how they get like the task accomplished, and they don't feel bad about themselves, it's a good thing for the game, not a bad thing. I think player retention is good for everybody, not just the devs. It is good for the devs, obviously, because they make more money off of it, and their game is more prosperous. It's good for you guys because your friends are playing the game and sticking around. And it's good for me, for instance, as a content creator, because there are more people to serve, basically. So in that regard, I don't understand the stance of like, oh yeah, CQs need to be so punishingly hard, and like people shouldn't be able to get through the game, and like, oh, you know, like these units are making the game too easy. It's such a like warped, egotistical thing to me, and that's why I've always had issue with it. Would you consider Low-He kind of power creepy? Maybe over like say Sen no Rikyu and stuff like that, sure. I don't think she's like game breaking in any stretch of the imagination. She's just a really nice solid one. Wouldn't that be the same argument for auto and bots? They're the pinnacle of casual friendly. To a degree, yes. I think the reason that people argue against autoing and botting is because the game was not designed with it in mind, and because we always assume, and probably rightfully so, that autoing and botting is not good for the player retention of the game. How do we know this? I feel like these signs are evident in a lot of other gacha games that like people don't actually play them, and that people kind of mentally check out and they just goon over the characters. Maybe to some degree that's fine, and that's what people want to do, so it is what it is. But I feel like having a actually like robust community and actually having people that want to play the game and be active in the game is probably better long term. Always. Trying to think of like how to say this basically, because I don't want to like step on people's toes here, but like again, I've always held basically that like you cannot stop botting. At least these devs are not going to. And that if people want to bot, they can. Why do I get upset about botting? Because people try to use it as like an ego thing, and they try to like flex on people with it, and that basically like makes me go like, no, you didn't do that. Obviously your bot program did. And yeah, so it's like that's why like I kind of get annoyed by it. Also, frankly speaking, because in general I have a pretty anti third party tool stance on FGO. Not entirely. Like I feel like things like data mines on released content are fine. I feel like things like, say, for instance, servant planners and stuff are fine. I don't think anything like that's hurting the game. I do believe that things like the machine translation app on JP do hurt the game. I actually think that's been very bad for the community. I think that is the source of 99% of the spoilers that happen in FGO. I think that is the source of 99% of the misconceptions that come out of story. And I feel like it has hurt the NA community irrevocably due to the 2-year gap. So in that regard, no, I'm not a huge fan of that stuff. But again, like, I'm not going to say that someone can't do that stuff. I just always like tell you guys, like, be kind. Don't be the asshole, right? I feel like that's just a good stance to have in everything, rather than like, oh man, like just this one thing. No, if you apply that to everything, you'll probably be fine. Like, just be considerate towards people. But like, again, I can hear different points of view on the like botting and autoing and like even like, say, for instance, the NP skipping stuff. I understand it. I understand different people have different like goals and issues in their lives. I get it. I don't think it's good for the game as a whole, but I understand why people want it. I personally also dislike when those people try to talk others into bots being the optimal way to play FGO. Yeah, look, I'm going to say it how it is. I feel like the botting community tries to get everybody in on it, mostly because the botting community is trying to get most people to just auto the game and go play their actual favorite gacha game. And I've seen this numerous times over the years. Because, like, for instance, whenever there is a new game that comes out and it is popular, you cannot stop people from running into like streams, from going on to Reddit, from like constantly like talking about it on Twitter. Okay. And so the reason for that is because gacha gamers just like to peer pressure people. And there's a reason why. Why? Like ask yourself why peer pressure is a thing in real life in general. Peer pressure always occurs when somebody basically doesn't want to do something themselves, or they're afraid to do it alone. And therein is the reason why people pressure everybody to play gacha games. It's like, they'll sit there and they'll be like, yo, dude, you should play this new gacha game. Why? Because if you don't, then the game might fail. And I like this game, and I don't want it to fail. It is what it is. As a poor man, I appreciate the 2-year gap so I can spend wisely on the servants I know are going to help keep to help my account. It will be a bonus if their waifu has mono. Yeah. We could play a drinking game out of how often people ask you to say, hey, Cad, have you played insert newest gacha game? We could, but I don't want people to die. Because like, I'm pretty sure if we played that drinking game, I would get taken off the air. You peer pressured me right now? Yes, to play FGO. I mean, like, in that regard, yeah, I've always been pro FGO, and I hate to say it, chat. I think it's because someone has to be. I definitely have my gripes with the game. I definitely have my complaints. I definitely voice them when I feel like it matters. But the majority of the time, I will generally try to be positive because I know you guys are fans of the games as well. And at the same time, like I said, it's like somebody's kind of got a stump for this game. I watch as like, man, you cannot talk bad about some other gacha game. The second you do, someone will like try to clap you back. Like, for instance, if I were to say Zenless Zone Zero is a shit gacha game and no one should play it, I will trigger someone And someone will immediately be like, no, Cad, you're wrong. I like Zenless Zones. But if you say FGO is shit, most FGO fans will be like, they'll either be silent or they'll be like, yeah, you're right. So it's one of the reasons that I actually like feel the need sometimes to stump for the game. Like, for instance, whenever someone on Twitter goes, I'm thinking about getting into FGO, the immediate response, not only because it's a meme, but also because they are trying to warn people off, is that's hell you're walking into. How dare you talk mad shit about Zenless? It is what it is, right? Like, I picked one, okay? I could have said Wuthering Waves was a shit game. So, like, FGO actually needs some people to, like, stump for it at times. God, that's so cringe. I hate it so much. I know. I just ignore haters. No point in wasting time and energy on them. To a degree, sure, but like as a content creator, a lot of the times I shouldn't. Well, like I should, but I shouldn't. Like, for instance, oh, dude, there was some guy on Twitter that was like, I think it was when I announced that I wasn't going to be able to cover the NA live stream, and I'm pretty sure he got triggered because he was like, God, you and every one of your followers are like idiots. I'm using a better term for it that might get me in trouble if I said the actual thing. Like, what do you mean cover it? There's nothing to cover. Like it's just the Wangina event and stuff. I'm like, yeah, obviously, numbnuts. We get that. Like, you don't need to say that sort of thing. You, like, it costs you nothing to just like literally be a nice person and say nothing at all, right? But I think the entire reason the guy got triggered is simply for the reason that I said that I wasn't covering it. Which was that I had a date. And I feel like you can't say things like that on Twitter because people will just lose their mind on you. And it's fucking hilarious. I'm wondering if any of these other gacha games will last as long as FGO has, though. I think they will, to a degree, right? I do think, and this is interesting, that, like, for instance, I'm not going to say that Nikkei has been doing bad, but I think Nikkei found itself recently in a weird spot. Hear me out, chat. I'm talking like over the past couple months here, okay? And I'm sure I'm going to trigger a Nikkei fan by saying this. I'm sorry in advance. But basically, I think Brown Dust 2 stole the Gooner crowd from Nikkei. Like, if you were the super Gooner, you were playing Brown Dust 2 because they were pushing the boundaries more. Similarly, the actual most popular gacha in the US right now ceased to be like Nikkei and Blue Archive and started becoming, boom, Uma Musume. And so I think Nikkei was caught in between both of those. And I think that's why I started to see Nikkei doing a whole lot of like really boundary pushing skins recently. And you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I think they're trying to say like, well, we can't beat Uma Musume, so let's try to like beat Brown Dust at their own game. I think they are trying to at least like win that crowd, right? Like, how's Brown Dust just asking? I have not played, but at least 3 people in VIP have played it. I have watched them. It is all right. It actually kind of reminds me of like almost like a Final Fantasy Tactics style game, which if you like that sort of thing, it's probably great for you. If you don't, They could have gone harder is all I'm saying. Probably not if they want to keep that rating 12 and up, which is like wild that they're still even allowed to have that rating. Nikkei absolutely has some stuff in it that like FGO would dare not do. And FGO is rated 18 plus in some countries. So the fact that like Nikkei has it and is still getting away with it is wild to me. But yeah, no, it's like when I see stuff like that, I start like psychoanalyzing it. I think like, for instance, that's why. I know nothing about Nikkei. I am not involved in the Nikkei community. I just see occasionally when they like tweet out new skins. And I see the reactions to them. And I looked at that and went like, huh, they must have been struggling. But like internally or behind the scenes, like maybe their numbers were beginning to dive because Uma Musume was stealing a lot of the popularity and the Gooner crowd had kind of like gone over to Brown Dust too. So they were like, fuck, now we need to win back the Gooner crowd. And so I think that's what happened. I think that's why you guys got a bunch of bunny suits. That's why you guys got like really skimpy, like what was the one that's got like the like triangle top that's white and she's kind of like caramel skinned? Was it a maid outfit? I don't even remember. Like I said, I don't know the characters. There's a whole problem with the Chinese server. Nikkei does bunny girls every year. Yeah. Okay, so Strom. And to anybody that's gonna try to be like, oh, but Cad, Nikkei does bunny girls every year. Yeah, how many years have they done a reverse bunny suit? Because they certainly did one now. And let's be honest, chat. There is no way that you can rate a reverse bunny suit as not 18 plus. There's no way. Ain't no way. They covered everything. Kind of. Reverse? I don't think I could show you guys a reverse bunny suit on stream. It's basically pasties and the bottom part is covered. That is a reverse bunny suit. I can describe it. I cannot show it to you. I'm hearing Lancer Artoria reverse bunny girl and FGO. God, I fucking wish. But yeah, like reverse bunny suit chat is basically like pasties for nipples, like usually like diamond pasties, and then like some sort of like crotch covering. And then like tights. Okay, so like that'll be like the tight over here, that'll be like the tight over here. Like that's it. That's all that's covered. It is literally the inverse. I found an image you can show. What do you mean? I regret that Google search. Yeah. To be fair, sometimes between the pasties and the crotch is fishnet. Not on any of the ones I've seen. Brown Dust 2 has a better reverse bunny suit that shows a lot more. Oh, probably. Like I said, I think Brown Dust 2 stole the Gooner crowd. I really do. Like, that is my earnest interpretation. How do I know? Let me check VIP. He's not there. Okay. I was going to ask him. Darty, are you lurking in chat? No, he's not. I don't see him. SMH. I'm gonna have to get onto him for that. But like, seriously, I don't know if you guys have seen. What? Oh, hold on. I was gonna say it actually got frozen again. Yeah, no, like some of the Brown Dust 2 stuff is like it is a weird fetish. What, a reverse bodysuit? I think it looks hot. But like at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like that is the type of outfit, chat, you wear to bed. That is not the type of outfit you wear out and about. Right? Like Error 404, Darty not found. True. Brown Dust 2 is rated the same as Nikke on Google Play. How? How is that possible? Oh, is it 18 plus? Okay. I was going to say, like, holy cow, that's insane if that's true. But I thought we were talking that it was like rated 12. I was like, oh. FGO needs to go more Gooner. It's been lacking lately. At least to a degree, I agree. I have said before that FGO was once described to me as a game where everybody is hot and sexy. And while it's obviously not true, I do see what they were getting at. That like early character designs were absolutely designed to have sex appeal. I will give you guys an example, chat. And it's not the example you're thinking of. Look, it is what it is. Okay? Not everyone's cup of tea, but they gave a vampire a glam up. This is not Vlad the Impaler. This is like Chad Kroger is now part of like the Twilight cast. Okay? You want another example? And some of y'all won't like it, but it's true. The girl is wearing panties and does not have a bra on. Like Boudica? Yeah. 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 Early FGO designs were 100% along these lines. Like, chat, this is close to Reverse Bunny Girl. This is close. But this is basically bikini armor. Okay? So, Medusa doesn't count because Medusa was like that originally. Okay? Like in Fate. So, the point that I'm trying to make is they clearly sold the game on sex appeal. Clearly. And then they kind of stopped. I'm not going to say like they stopped entirely. We get summer every year, but like we rarely get something like this anymore. And I do think that's kind of a problem. Like, I'll give you guys an example. How did everybody react when Zenobia was revealed? Do you know why everyone reacted that way? Because not only was Zenobia hot and people were just going to goon, but also that was like the first time they had kind of done that with a normal unit in a while. And therein lies the problem. I just saw the Brown Dust 2 reverse bunny suit, and man, holy shit. Let me see. This makes me want to look at it. Was it reverse bunny Therese? No. Wait, is it? Then we got Kama? Yeah, Kama was definitely more down that line. Don't forget Snako Nason too. People went wild over her. Yep. Because they actually like gave us a thick woman. And like thick in the good way, right? Like thick and like she got the curves in all the right places. Bradamante was weird too. What do you mean by weird? If you mean like attractive, I agree. I think that let's be honest, chat. The only reason Bradamante isn't more popular is because of Bradamante's voice. People have a tendency to feel like the VA for that one's a little squeaky. Otherwise, I think people would absolutely go like, "Oh my god, she's wife." Gormagala fight might just be the worst in history. Yep. I'm trying to see where the reverse bunny is, but I don't see it, chat. I need somebody to tell me the character name. I think it's Lowen. Okay, let me see. I like how I type this in, and the very first thing is a thing on the Brown Dust subreddit where they go, "How will they release the reverse bunny Lowen PV on YouTube?" And it's just a picture of it, and I'm like, "Yep, that might be a problem." Yeah, apparently one of the content creators that actually covers Brown Dust 2 got a strike for his whole YouTube channel just for showing a pic of it for a split second. Holy shit. Like, that's wild, dude. I feel like Brown Dust should be an M-rated game. It probably should. I'll be honest with you guys, because isn't there like the Taimanin game as well that's like M-rated? And I'm like, I am actually surprised that we haven't seen the rise of more just like total gooner games at that point. That it's not just like, hey, you basically have what amounts to a porn game, and it's just designed better so that the gameplay's not like straight ass like some of those other ones that have occurred. But I think the other issue too is the age rating is kind of important, because I think they don't want to like, what's the word I'm looking for, like remove themselves from the market. They understand that it's like a really important thing to have people at least like be able to like see their game and stuff like that. Also, chat, what is today, the 8th? 2 more days I'll be able to roll with you guys. So we have Grand Duel tomorrow on JP and for writers, and then probably Wednesday will be Castoria and the 4-star ticket. Chat, doesn't this sound like the theme from Doesn't this sound like the theme from Love is War? Kaguya-sama? Like when shit's going down? And it's because it's absolutely stolen. It's sampled from this song. Which is You Spin Me Right Round. I also heard a sampling off of, and I forget which anime it was, but they were using Welcome to the Jungle as an instrumental. And I was like, dude. Was getting a drink. Did I find the BD2 skin CAD? Yes, I did. And it was funny because it was just regaling people apparently on the like Reddit post that I was seeing the picture on. They were saying that apparently one of the few content creators that actually covers Brown Dust 2 immediately got a strike just for showing the image for like a split second. It's like, dude, that's so bad, man. It makes me feel like I should spin. You should spin. Let's see. This is the problem. The new player account sucks right now for the 1 Gina event because nobody rolled. So, like, nobody has the CEs. So I could take a Draco. I might be able to loop and card through with the Draco, but maybe not. I heard a guy in the UK got arrested for having it on his phone last week. Having it on his phone is wild, but the UK is not. There was that whole like shtick where people were like upset about like somebody getting arrested at an airport over anime material, but I was like, dude, that was not anime material. That was like straight up hentai. It was lolly hentai, and there was apparently like full-blown child abuse in there as well as sexual content. So I'm like, nah, dude, like that one's not an anime one. Don't fight over that one, guys. That's the one. Yeah, no, that's pick a better hill to die on. let that guy go to jail. He probably deserved it. Also, like, how does, if it was just on his phone, how did he get caught? How did it get caught? No. Let's be honest. There's only one way, and we all know it, and it's not good. I hate that the main event farmer is alter ego, but the class is knight. Yeah. Real split on which Salter I want in P2. When you say which Salter, what do you mean? Like Salter or Lalter, or do you mean like somebody else? I have no idea, Shadow. I saw Chibi Reviews was going off on it, and I was kind of laughing because I was like, dude, this is not the hill to die on. I see what you're doing. I know what you're up to. Like, it's like, don't get me wrong, censorship's a problem, but like, I don't know about that one. Gooning in the wild is crazy, to be honest, right? I think that's when you know you have a problem, right? Like, when you feel the need to like whip out your phone in a public space and start jorking it. Or even just looking at it at that point. I don't know. Like, keep it in your pants till you get home at least. Holy crap. We'll stagger. She should kill. This will probably be a faster clear than it otherwise would have been for me. I don't want to save that. I just got my first Creamhild. How to use her correctly. Creamhild's a 50% charger. And she's single target arts. And technically also anti-dragon. So, what do you want to know? This is the third skill, chat. That's the taunt. Which is targetable, so like you do not have to put it on her, say for instance. He just couldn't watch normal anime for 4 hours, dude, right? Like, I feel like it would be one thing if you were just like watching, say, like Naruto or some shit and you got arrested, okay? It's another thing when it's something like that. Because at that point, it's basically public indecency, right? Did you hear the FBI purchased a malware that can get into people's phones without them clicking on links? Probably only for phones that they need to do that for. And right now, chat is thinking like, oh, CAD means like criminals. I'm thinking, no, probably only foreign-made phones. And the reason I say this is because the FBI probably can already get into any phone that they want that's at least domestically produced. At least that's what I assume. Same thing. So fun fact, chat. I believe it was last year. I saw a news article about the Chinese government, the CCP, basically had to issue a proclamation saying, you are not allowed to use or access anything governmentally that is not on a Chinese-made device. You know why, chat? Well, because Intel chips and, several of the other ones have always had a backdoor for, like, the CIA to access for, I think, going on, like, 40 years or something like that. Like, it's been a thing for a long time. It is one of the worst kept secrets. Everybody knows that they can backdoor their way into your computer if they really need to on the kernel level. And it's freaking hilarious. All made in China and Taiwan. Yep. It's the same for the printers? Yeah, the printer one was funny. I remember seeing that one the other day as well. I heard America made a change to the Department of War. Was that a meme? No, that's a like real thing. You guys got to understand though too, and not to get like political here, but like America started calling it the DoD, and then everybody started calling it DoD. Prior to that, it was always going to be referred to as like the Department of War, like a like war cabinet or anything like that. Like it was never going to be anything else otherwise. So it just is one of those things where a lot of people, I think, were like expecting it to probably stay the same. I don't blame anybody for thinking it should be the same, but I could also understand, I guess, why they're changing it. So it is what it is. They also changed it to an icky color. Yeah, that I haven't looked at. If they do it on an American citizen, though, they'll get in serious trouble. Well, only if they get caught. Blah, 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 Patriot Act, blah, blah, blah. Like, only if they get caught, chat. It's a distinction without difference. Yeah, I think like the reason for it was, again, probably like it kind of is semantics, but I think it's like to make it clear. We need a whistleblower. Yeah, I mean, like, again, you guys got to understand, I feel like the CIA and the FBI can reasonably get a hold of any information they need to for reasons. And it's only going to come out if it ends up in a trial. Okay? And even then, the CIA will probably, or the FBI will probably just go like, we got it from a third party. They will always deny that shit. They will never say they actually got it the way that they did. And even if they somehow had to, they would basically just like pull out the like, oh, it's of national security interests and stuff like that. Like they would just pull out the excuse of like, we don't have to answer that question. Isn't it known that the CIA is a monitor on all sites on the dark web? No, because you can't monitor all sites on the dark web. They have a monitor on known sites on the dark web. But the way the dark web basically works is that like you can create a site that can only be accessed if you know what the ISP for it is. And it's short of brute forcing all of the ISPs, nobody's necessarily going to do that. It would be a difficult thing for them to do, right? But would they? At least to an extent. Yeah, I'm sure the CIA has a vested interest in watching stuff like that. And if you think about it, it makes sense because it's one of those things where, oh my god. Oh my god, it's an actual archer with an MLB CE that I need. And it's like actually a thing that oh, wait, where was I going with that? Oh, the dark web, right. Yeah, it's kind of a known thing that it's like, it's better for them instead of shutting the websites that are doing illegal stuff down to instead just monitor it because they know where it is. As opposed to, if they try to shut it down, they'll scatter to the four corners of the earth again. They'll reform in some new location, and the CIA is going to have to find it again. So, like, yeah, that probably is a thing. Beyond that, couldn't tell you, like, what's going on the dark web or why, right? I know that, like, from everything I've heard, stuff on the dark web is usually, like, illegal transactions, like, they'll be selling like drugs and stuff, and I'm sure there's other things that I would be hesitant to mention that are on there, but like at the end of the day, yeah, I guess it's like the idea of a controlled area is better than a like random not known area. Human recipes, yeah. They usually have a sealed warrant that allows them to do it. Oh yeah, for obvious reasons, right? Like it's pretty easy for them to just go like, oh yes, we need this for the reason of like for instance, oh they're selling, you know, like weed. Like that's as far as they need to go, right? It's like they're selling weed. We need to keep an eye on it just to make sure that like we can track the payments and the transactions. Worse, they may sell illegal musics. Yep. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure they keep an eye on that stuff too. Even if it's not like something that they would need to shut down, I am sure they keep an eye on it. Some good meat soups in there. Jesus, chat. Probably better to do that. Actually getting some Tametomo content here. We don't normally get this. I very rarely use Tametomo. He is the epitome of somebody that just desperately needs a buff. And it's mostly due to like his NP damage is just straight ass. I knew he wasn't gonna kill. No. I knew he wasn't gonna kill. The FBI tends to be cautious on that because they know if they miss a step, all their work is ruined. Yeah. That thumbnail on the Discord, though, more like Metal Gear Soft. I see. Yeah, I got that made. I feel like later in the week we'll probably play it at some point. But I saw no reason to hide it from chat. Because Dino finished the piece today. Love the song, same. He has invuln, pierce, ignore defense, and anti-trait, yet his damage is just not there. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, because he has some of that stuff, he probably shouldn't be the best damage dealer, but, like, holy crap. It could be a whole lot better. Because, again, I think he's actually a really cool unit. I love his design. If you're not going to have, like, a sex-appealing type of unit, having a unit that, like, at least is really cool looking is like the next best thing, right? I can just take damage, see. Young, you got a banger MP buff? I see people say stuff like that, but I don't really see anyone using Xiongyu still. And I think like it's kind of obvious why. There's issues that Xiongyu has that probably still need to be addressed. His damage is not bad. Aura is sex appeal. Hey, maybe. Mihoyo would put an anime girl inside that armor. I'm insulted by this char. You act like FGO didn't do it first. And you also act like that's not a thing. just say. Come back sooner. There's Mordred before that. True. Wait, what did the Gilgamesh have? I'm not taking Arjuna. Actually, Arjuna might not be terrible in the grand scheme of things just because he has the NP charge per turn for 5 turns, but I still don't want to use Arjuna. Mid Samus design, though, to be fair. You mean like that's not her best, or you mean like Samus is mid? Because, like, depending on your answer here, I might have to ban you. There we go. Take Durga. Samus reveal shook me as a kid. Oh, I believe it. How are you playing a game made by literal otaku who don't even hide it? Wait, what do you mean? How are you playing a game made by literal otaku? I'm pretty sure like every single anime game is made by literal otaku. I think the reason that the MiHoYo crowd sometimes upsets me is they're like relatively. How should I put this? On one hand, there's some like MiHoYo people that it's almost like WoW people where it's like they're just insufferable, they're just annoying. And on the other hand, there's ones that it's like they're so naive, it's clear that it's like their first game ever, and they're like sitting there thinking that the game invented everything. Genshin invented it all, don't you know? Yeah, there you go. Otherwise, it's like, I mean, I'm sure there's people that think that like FGO invented this stuff, right? Like, at least in that regard, to me, FGO kind of makes it pretty obvious most of the time that they are like homaging something from like an anime trope, as opposed to like, at least with MiHoYo, I feel like they try to pass it off as their own. And that's kind of like, I guess there's nothing wrong with like putting your own spin on it per se, but I also look at that and I go like, I see what you're trying to do. They're trying to convince people that they're like the first people to do this. Durga's not gonna full loop. So let's do one of these. Perfect. Problem. Uh-oh. We're gonna kill that one. Well, no, we're not. It's just the Buster crit there. I gotta play that safe. Oh, damn it. I was really hoping I would loop this. I was basically trying to farm up charge on Durga, get these as low as possible to start the loop. And now I'm just going to go like, okay, now I'm just going to card it out. There's no reason not to. MiHoYo fans will never admit that ZZZ is the best MiHoYo game. I'm pretty sure MiHoYo fans, if they were old enough, might scream at you for that, because I feel like most of the Honkai Impact the Third fans feel like ZZZ's an inferior version. But that's just kind of the perception that I've gotten. I remember watching you play Remastered, but I don't remember Dread. I definitely played Dread. Dread was actually my first Metroid game, technically, that I'd played. Not my first Metroidvania, but my first Metroid game. Just send it. At least FGO releases huge armored characters. Every time MiHoYo teases one, there's a silly teenager in it. I mean, maybe, right? Like, in that regard, I can't speak because I don't pay close enough attention to MiHoYo characters. Usually I just end up seeing them and people are like sitting there acting like it's the greatest thing ever, and I go like, this is literally a Fate character. But beyond that, I really don't interact with it. What's her second one? Okay, yeah, the steroid. I forgot about Durga in that regard. Oh, right, yeah, and she turns all of her card starts. God, I keep forgetting stuff because it's been a hot second since I've touched Durga. Most of them love ZZ too, so I don't know about that. Unfortunately, I can't take a comment like that at face value because I have literally watched people that were bored with Genshin Impact go back and try to play Honkai Impact the Third purely to have something to do because they were so like brain-addled and addicted to MiHoYo content. So at that point, it is what it is. I'm not going to say that it's like a bad thing or that like what you're saying is wrong. Simply that like I cannot trust it, right? So you're essentially doing the South Park Simpsons did it first gag. Kind of. Except like there are obvious things that like have been done first, right? Like it's pretty clear if you make a character. Okay, chat. I will give you guys an example right here. If you make a character that looks pretty damn similar to Faye Valentine, it's probably a Faye Valentine reference. If you don't know who Faye Valentine is, you should go watch Cowboy Bebop. Dirty Pair reference? Yeah, I may even get the reference wrong, right? Like, it is what it is. I'm going to say that, like, FGO is laden with stuff like this. And it is not hidden. It's not like they're trying not to. It is blatantly obvious what they're doing. And they never try to hide it. They even talk about it in interviews, and they sit there and they say, like, oh, yeah, this is totally a reference to, like, this trope. And they know it, and they just do it because they love anime. Yeah. See if I can get that person. Love me some reference. It's why I like HI3, and it's full of EVA reference and even Final Fantasy game references. Yeah, and I don't think there's a problem with that. I don't think there's a problem with trying to like reference something. I think the issue that I have is when like let's say like FGO makes a reference. And let's say Honkai Impact the Third also makes a similar reference. There is no issue here. What do I have issue with then? I have issue when Genshin Impact, instead of also making a reference, references another gacha game. It is what it is, chat. Why do I have issue with that? Because it's basically theft at that point. It's just idea stealing. It's just basically sitting there and going like, they did that and it was successful, so I'm going to do it. And that's why I don't like it. Because this is done, and this is done purely for the love of it, right? This is done purely for this reason. And that's why I don't care for that stuff. Even the raid JP just did with the Macross reference. Yep. May I ask why? Why what? Like, why do I not like it? or what? Yep. Babylonia time. Double X is a Power Ranger, definitely. I don't feel like Double X is a Power Ranger reference. I feel like Double X is a reference to like basically like Mecha Musume stuff. I was gonna ask why you hate referencing other gotchas, but you answered it here. Yeah, so like in general, because if you're gonna reference like some other source material, I think that's fine. When you reference another gotcha game, it basically just comes across as trying to steal ideas from a successful like competitor. Okay, that's why I don't like it. And like to me, I've been back and forth with people. People have argued with me from time immemorial on this stuff, so I hate to keep bringing it up. But if I go back and I look, say, for instance, at I don't even have to go as far as Inazuma. I could. Inazuma's the two most obvious ones to me, where Yae Miko is clearly Tamamo and Raiden Shogun is clearly Mama Raiko. And people will sit there and they will claim otherwise, and I'll be like, yes, they've changed it. Yes, they are not the exact same. It is clear what they're basically referencing, though. And I can like extrapolate that, and I can go back and I can even look at something like, say, Gene Gun Hilder in the original launch of Genshin. Gene Gun Hilder literally is a mixture of like Artoria and John, and ends up having what, Tamamo's VA for her. And it becomes pretty obvious as Genshin keeps using a lot of the exact same VAs as Fate. Don't get me wrong. To a degree, yeah, they're all VAs in the industry, but you guys got to understand how large the Japanese VA industry is, just how many different options there are, and the fact that you purposefully went after like known big deal like Fate people told me kind of exactly what was going on there. So I saw the writing on the wall for what it was, and I basically had been since then just having a chip on my shoulder about a lot of that stuff, because what I perceived it as was simply Genshin Impact trying to steal from Fate. Then a couple of years later, they end up coming out with basically Honkai Star Rail. I don't feel like I have to make a case anymore. Honkai Star Rail is the obvious one. It is clear to me that I don't think they're necessarily trying to kill FGO or anything like that, but that they are trying to emulate the successes that FGO has had in different formats of their own. And it shows me that they are kind of creatively bereft, that they have to keep pulling the ideas from Fate. And then people will sit there, like I said, they'll argue with me and they'll be like, oh, that's not a thing, Cad. No. And then like, again, we literally had the Honkai Star Rail director come out and admit that that was a thing. So I don't think it's like, I don't think it's bad to reference other stuff. I think my issue is when you are quote unquote referencing a competitor that is still active in your own genre. You're not homaging them. You're not referencing them. You're stealing, right? It is what it is. It's just theft at that point. Tekutaku Save the World, remember? I'm gonna be real with you. The Tekutaku Save the World line is one of the most BS lines ever, and it makes me laugh because it's pretty clear that they're just in the business of making money. Sure, they do some nice stuff, like charity-wise. I've heard some of the stuff that they've done. I don't care. It's a drop in the bucket to them. Yae Miko is based off Yae Sakura. No. No. If you compare Yae Miko and Yae Sakura, they almost look like two different characters completely. They'll sit there and they'll say it's based off of her. Yeah, it's Yae Sakura if she put on a Tamamo cosplay. They took a completely unrelated character that had a completely different personality and they put her in the mold of Tamamo. That's why I say stuff like that. It's because like it's kind of undeniable. And people try to sit there and deny it, and I go like, no. It does not pass the eye test. It does not pass the smell test. It does not pass any test. But like I said, this is something that I know that people feel defensive about, and it's just something that, like, basically they'll get upset with. Can you please pull the two pictures? Sure. Yeah. So here's Yae Sakura. You can see she's basically got like the whole ninja aesthetic and kind of like, is it bunny ears? I don't really know what those are supposed to be. And then here is Tamamo Light. She's got the whole Shrine Maiden aesthetic, the skimpy outfit, and the floppy ears instead of upright fox ears. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying, though. This one is not a Shrine Maiden. This one is not a fox. This one is, and so much so that they make her do the whole, like, fox hand thing. Like, this only works if you're trying to play on people's ignorance. The more you know about this character, the more you know that this is just Tamamo. And now bring up Tamamo? Yeah. Oh, that's an image. Why did that go? What? No! It literally pulled my other, like, tab all the way over to the other screen just for that. I don't know why it did that. That's not the best picture, actually, but it is what it is. I'm not doing super research for this stuff. There you go, chat. The Chinese bootleg things, especially IP. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And to me, it's so wild that I get pushback on this stuff. And the reason why I say this is because people get really defensive because they really like Genshin or they really like Honkai Star Rail. That's fine. I'm not going to argue with you liking it. I'm simply pointing out that it is clear that they bootlegged it, as you've said, right? Like, and you get people that'll deny this, and I'm like, they've admitted it! I'm like, you can sit there and deny it. They've admitted that they did it. Like, I don't know why people deny it at this point. It's a really like obvious thing to me that, and they'll say like, oh, we were inspired by Fate, but chat, it took years for them to come out and say it. They otherwise would have completely denied it the entire time. And it was not until they were doing a collab with Nasu that they were finally like, oh yeah. And that's why I've given them so much shit over the years for it. Because to me, it's obvious what they're doing. We all know. And it's kind of funny to me. I've been knowing they had Fate references to made Honkai Impact the Third. That's interesting. I've not like looked at Honkai Impact the Third because, at least from my understanding, HI3 was never as big of a game, right? Like it was. I knew of it, but I've only really ever known like 2 people personally that played it. Beyond my sphere of friends, certainly there are plenty of people that I've known that played it. But like I never really like looked into it in that regard, right? But what was it? Did I see I also okay, so like, and this is more to the exact same point. I saw people trying to claim that Macchiato in Girls Frontline 2 was stolen is it Kafka, right? From HSR. That Macchiato was derivative of Kafka. And it was so funny to see that because it was one of the biggest times that I have ever seen like any like MiHoYo fan get slapped down. They got hit with functionally the equivalent of what's it, the Mr. Blue Sky meme of like 50 characters with purple hair that existed before Kafka. And it was fucking hilarious. Because Kafka, if anything, was based off of either Wa2K, who is Macchiato, or Shisha. And Fate. And it's probably a blend of both. And again, there may be like some old HI3 character that it's based off of. That I don't know. But it was just hilarious to watch the Girls Frontline 2 people clap them back. I heard a similar thing, but replace Macchiato with Dala from Nikke? Dala from Nikke. Let me see. I don't think I've seen that one. Dola from Nikke is 100% based off of Wa2K. 100%. Okay. Allow me chat. Macchiato, aka Wa2K. So when it sounds like I'm saying Y2K. God damn it. I closed it, chat. I'm sorry. It sounds like I'm saying Y2K, but I'm saying Wa 2K. So you're saying Dala from Nikke. And this is just looking at the headshot. Yeah, 100%. 100%, even to the point that she has the thing slung over her shoulder, which is a very common thing that she has. So, like, yes. Yeah, no. No, 100%. That's probably stolen. Like, does it make it bad? Like, can you not like the character? No, it's just like, I guess people should be respectful, and you shouldn't be like, oh, this character stole it from. No, it's like you're getting it backwards. Like, if the character's older, you probably fucked up. Yeah. That's one of the closest ones I've seen in a hot second. Like, that was basically, hey, copy my homework, just change it a little bit, and they changed the eye color from red to purple. Like, well, it stands for Walther, yeah. Is that Bizette, though? I mean, she does look very similar in that regard. Okay, so where were we? We were on Mount Ebba. So let's get started on this. We're going to continue on with Babylonia. And if I remember correctly, there's a little bit of spiciness involved on Mount Ebba, but I don't think it should be too bad. We'll just keep it going. Keep kind of working our way through. And the Agent 46 gun? Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure the Hitman gun is based off of James Bond. I think it is a thing. Oh, sorry. No, you're referring to the WA2K, right? Although I think James Bond uses a WA2K at one point. But yes, I do believe Hitman does as well. Still, wouldn't surprise me if they are referenced. It's going to be more of the same of this, isn't it? Earlier I didn't do this. I went through them one by one, but this time I'm just kind of like, let's go. It's in one of the movies at least. Yeah, I need to sit down and watch the James Bond movies again. They were like, they're not like the best movies or anything like that. They're just kind of like fun to me. I like watching them. I was saying it's the same company, yeah. Yeah, I get they're both Walthers. Do it again. But it's been a hot minute since I watched the Bond movies. Hitman games, I haven't touched Hitman 3. Because I don't like the way the modern Hitman games release. They do like mission packs and you have to pay for missions separately. The definite way to do it is to wait until they're like all out and all on sale and then scoop them. But in general, like, I don't even know that I'll get the third game because I don't think I don't feel like the second game and buying all the mission packs was worth it for me. Like, they were fun, but it was just kind of like, I'm not gonna say one and done. I went back and played some of the stuff and did some stuff, but like, I don't feel like I got my money's worth out of it. All this just reminds me of how Taimanin has one character who's blatantly designed after the female lead from Zone of Enders 2. Zone of Enders 2. I don't know if I've seen Zone of Enders. Yeah. Maybe. I could see that. I mean, is what it is. Like, I'm gonna say at that point, like, we all know what Taimanin is. So, like, to me, it's like, if you're not competitive, if you're not, like, trying to, like, take the spotlight from somebody else, and you're just, like, making reference, I think that's fine. I think like that sort of thing is okay as long as you're not how should I put it? Like as long as like what you're doing is not like monetarily harming the company that you're like getting the idea from. But I also get that that sort of thing can be tricky. It's just a split node, and the fact that they're recommending Lancers against Sabers is kind of laughable. You'd be better off just taking a straight Archer at that point or something, but I think at this point we just go Berserker. Keep doing what we're doing. It's the sexy ninja game, and they know that. Yeah, and I feel like there's something to be said about like knowing what your like IP is and what like its selling point is. It's kind of nice in that regard. Although I feel like I've heard that like Taimonen's trying to go like legit, kind of like how Fate started out as like an Aerogay, and then eventually like it just kind of went legit itself. But I feel like at least the way Fate did it is like it immediately like turned around, made a safe for work version of its game, and then like went on from there, right? As opposed to like Taimonen's 100% been like making bank on being like a NSFW thing for a long time. I feel like it's way too late to try to change it, because if you're somebody that likes that IP, you're 100% like, oh yeah, this is my jam now. And so it's like if they tried to make that go safe for work, I think it would just piss people off. So Ishtar is going to be a little bit of a problem here. We can try to kind of just go all out a little bit, since we have a lot of charge. She does have the Armlet of Venus, which may cause us some problems. Unfortunately, she's also probably not Earth trait, so I don't think Ibuki will have super effective damage against her. She should be Sky attribute, because not only is she divine, but she's also floating. So, if Ishtar's not Sky, that would be kind of wild to me. I'd say the idea that Y2K was overblown is one of the most... It's one of the conspiracy theories that truly annoys me. I'm a business analyst. I worked on significant remediation projects. Yeah, I think there was a lot of work done prior to Y2K to make sure that it would be as painless of a transition as possible. I don't think it was the doomsday that people were expecting it to be, but I don't think it was nothing either, right? Least pop the defense up. Go for the triple arts. Give myself the charge, since I can't get through the invuln this particular... Oh, wait, no. Ibuki has the removal, doesn't she? I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting that this girl has that. Yep. So that is a misplay on my part. But at least it allows me to save a little bit here. And Ishtar shouldn't have Invuln Pierce unless she takes an action beforehand. So we should be okay. Things could have gotten nasty, yeah. Supposed to ties back to sex because of the games. Yes, I believe that is the way that works. Like I said, I'm not like super familiar with it. I'm just aware of it, right? I keep forgetting Summerbuki has defensive buff removal because everything is framed invulns these days. Yeah. It's so weird to like actually see just a normal invuln a lot of the times, because like what chat's referring to is basically these like framed white box buffs. They're unremovable. You can't do anything to them because they are a fight specific gimmick. So it makes it at least somewhat difficult to deal with sometimes. And so you just have to be careful. But like as a result, it's like you don't think about buff removal a lot in certain cases because it has times where it's really useful, but it has plenty of times where it's not useful at all. And so, like, you get used to kind of thinking, like, oh, I can't remove this. I found a list of guns in Fate Zero. Nice. It's actually kind of cool. Wait, did Kiritsuga use the mod 2K as well? Interesting. I did not realize. I guess, yeah, he did try to, like, basically, like, snipe people at points, so... He also used a nice, good old-fashioned bazooka. Might have used it from the crane sniping, yeah. Although, let's be honest, chat, that's not a realistic depiction. Okay? Because, of course, like, not only is it difficult for him to, like, scale that crane and get up there and actually, like, take that shot and hit that shot, but it is so unrealistic because it didn't have, like, the scope glint on it. Like, that was the problem, is that, like, nobody could see Kiritsugu shooting from the crane. So it's completely unbelievable because I've been led to believe that every single sniper rifle has a massive fucking, like, searchlight on it whenever you go to shoot. Now we're up against the Berserker, and now we have Ishtar. Well, I can think of what we should be fighting after Ishtar, but this is not what I'm thinking of. So this could be interesting. In fact, that is a very good Durga. Let's go with that. What didn't Kiritsugu use? Magic. Cad, what would you choose between NP5 Summer Melt or NP1 Lancer Raiko for the ticket? Oh, okay. So is Summer Melt waifu for you? Because if she's not, the 5th copy's not going to make a huge big deal. Meanwhile, NP1 Lancer Raiko is at least some nice utility. So that really depends. If she's your, like, man, you just really are jonesing to complete her, then go for it. I don't see a problem with that. But for me personally, depending on how badly I needed the 5th copy of Summer Melt, I think I would just go for the Lancer Raiko for the kit. It's a 1 out of 3 against golems, which, as we know, are sky attribute. At least some of the time. Is it 1 turn? No, it's 3 turn duration, so I actually should have popped all of this the first time. Counterpoint time magic? No, I mean, like, he technically used magic with his bullets, but yeah. What's up, Kestari Alter? It still bothers me that an FGO assassins are weak against casters when Kiritsugu easily messed up Kaneth. Yeah, I've actually felt like it should be the reverse. That, like, so, and this is kind of true of, like, all the triangles, I feel like, but it is what it is. So, like, in FGO, caster beats assassin, which beats rider, which beats caster. I actually feel like basically assassin should beat the entrenched caster in their territory. The entrenched caster in their territory should be the only one that has the firepower to take out a rider, and basically the rider should just be able to run down an assassin. That's how I feel like it should be, but I get it. It's just the way the game works. They had to make a decision. This will not leave me very much refund. But I guess we gotta go with it. Hope for the best. Didn't Medusa dropkick Hassan in the face? The triangle was all wrong. Well, I mean, in a similar way, right? Like, it's like, oh, Saber beats Lancer, Lancer beats Archer, and Archer beats Saber. But, like, we don't really get too many instances of any of that. If anything, like, Saber beats both of them most of the time. And the exception to the rule is just maybe Gilgamesh. But it is what it is. Like, again, this is the difference between like lore and game mechanics. Is like sometimes with game mechanics you just have to have a choice. But Medusa had Mudgrail power up. I mean, listen, we can argue till the cows come home about who had what power up. Come on, charge me. Unfortunate. I have to take Durga's third card because, like, if I don't, she's not getting to the NP probably if the boar does his crap again. So she actually would have, but basically the boar kind of had the option of just choosing not to. I'm gonna stun him actually this turn. Mr. Ash, thank you for the 54. Tired, no funny meshes this month. Were you out on a job today, Ash? Saber beats almost everyone. They said time and again that Saber is the best class. Yeah, and it's kind of funny that like in FGO, Saber is at times. So it just is what it is. It's not like an inherently better class by any stretch of the imagination. Stain, on the other hand, is a story, so not so much. Yeah, and the other issue at play is that Nasu has a very like peculiar storytelling style where he overemphasizes things and tries to make things seem like they're the most like insane extremity that they possibly can be. So, like, for instance, Nasu sitting there saying that Ku has an undodgeable attack, and then Saber manages to use her Ultra Instinct to dodge it. And so you're sitting there and you're like, wow. And there's also a point like in the VN where it's like Shiro basically says the line because he like sees in his mind Hercules cutting Saber, and he's like, I watched her die. And then like 2 seconds later, she's not dead. So it's like the way the story is written is to make you like, it's basically cathartic. It's trying to like evoke that emotion from you. It's trying to like make you feel like something like insane has happened. And then like it gets walked back like 2 seconds later. What if you just iframed the undodgeable attack? Well, but the problem is the undodgeable attack reverses causality. What does that mean? I don't know, man. But it hit you. Except in the case of Saber, who has instinct enough to know not to stand there. In that regard, I think you could argue that like instinct is one of the most poorly implemented skills in FGO. It just absolutely, like, to me, instinct should probably be the dodge skill. But it is what it is. Writer. Okay. Now this one I understand what it is. You probably do not want to take Merlin to this, assuming this is the fight that I think it is. Let me double check. It is a 5 AP, but we'll see. Assuming it is the fight that I think it is a hefty boy, and we probably would like a nice A nice single target assassin to nuke from orbit. Also, how can Roias defend against Kuzan P again? It basically just slows it down and stops it. It's so many layers of defense. Gabeul's Curse is like the first time you get a taste of how nonsense the setting can be. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's not. Thankfully, Kama should not be good alignment. Kama should be evil. But just double checking. She is chaotic evil. So we made the right choice. I forgot about Cats. I was thinking I was fighting Gugulata, and I was not. Cats is interesting. This is not going to be the last time you fight her. But basically, as you guys can see, she nullifies damage from good alignment enemies and decreases attack by half for balanced and evil alignment enemies. So you're not going to deal a whole lot of damage to her, but balanced, evil, or somebody that is not one of those alignments, like, for instance, summer alignment, can get you a long way. You can defend against it, you just can't dodge it. That was the premise, basically. It's basically like heat seeking is the idea behind it. But if you iframe the moment causality is reversed to make it whiff, I don't think you can iframe causality is the issue. The good news is as well is that Kama can charm, so I don't know what the win condition is for this fight, but it may get kind of hilarious. I got 80%. I'd like that crit damage, but just gonna kind of try to keep whittling her down. Hopefully not allow her to get a turn, as she guarded it that time. So now Ketz is gonna go on a little bit of a rampage. Oh, she gave herself guts. Yeah, so Waver is in a little bit of trouble. He is a caster. So a lot of Kama's buffs are going to fall off here, and we didn't get to the third MP, but it is what it is. We didn't get Kama's arts card on turn 2 or turn 1. What are the John things from? John Elden Ring? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's basically a play on John Doe, which is the name that people give a... Technically, it's the name that people give a dead body when they're not sure what the... when they're not sure what the, like, the identity of the corpse is. When people can't decide what to name a game's character. Yeah. Like, are you playing Baldur's Gate? Do you need to come up with a character's name? It's John Baldur. Ah! Oh! Come on, don't end it. I want to be able to actually kill her here. So, like, again, I suspect this is a, like, win... We got the kill? I was gonna say, I suspect this is a win condition where you probably have to, like, last 5 turns against her, but, well, we got the job done. There we go. That is Bond 5 for David, so I can probably switch who's in my backline now. Of Baldur and Baldur adventuring, yes. Baldur Dash. Oh, good old fashioned question mark. So I believe this one is our good friend Tiamat. Tiamat, as you guys know her. And so this one I may want to play in an interesting way. Oh, I don't have my own personal Castoria Berserker up. Interesting. I guess I can. Yes, I can do my stuff here. Got 3 copies of that. This one's still probably better for right now. Oh, the damage cut's actually not terrible on a Berserker. When are we getting this Tiamat summer version? That's a good question. Tot doesn't matter until there's a tiny guts in play when it suddenly does matter. Well, it just ended at that turn. I would have killed her on the next turn, because I assume at minimum it was probably like a 5-turn issue. Really? Oh, Waver, you did it, you beautiful bastard. Still not gonna kill, but like... Oh, wow. Wow. You calm the hell down, sir. Actually, I'm gonna take that instead of the cleanse for the heal. Okay. I don't have the version that has the heal on it yet. Got a full-blown waiver chain here, too. Yeah, I think we just let them go and hope they don't kill Castoria Berserker. That would be bad. Sometimes you get really bad RNG and the AI will just kind of go after you. Usually you do not. Usually it's not this bad where you just kind of keep getting poked out by the same person. It'll alternate across. Not exactly ideal. I did not want to have to use an NP here. But basically my main damage carry is going into whatever the final wave is, pretty low health. Okay. It's not what I expected. Ugh. Go with the Brave Chain. Especially when you're working with Castorias, the Brave Chain is really nice because you basically are just going to be getting yourself back to an MP faster. Stan Dealey, thank you for the follow. Welcome. You get your Summer Medea, but it's Medea Lily. Please no. Okay, nobody hit her. Surprising. We're gonna get rid of Mr. Crit Happy Boy here, though we have to be careful of the 3-turn NP. And we still have a full Brave Chain, so we take those. If I'm lucky, I get the crits, and this fight's over. Hello, Stan. As soon as you know what's going to happen, Summer Medea Lily, it will be, pretty much. If we get a Summer Medusa, it's going to be Saber Medusa version. I mean, I wouldn't hate that per se. Like, I don't think there's a problem with it. But yeah, that's something we've talked about before, is that usually if they pay attention to characters, they have a tendency to pay attention to the FGO specific variants rather than like, say like for instance, OG Saber, who has gotten, I mean, she's got like buffs and stuff over the years, but she's not really gotten any like story attention, which is back to the point I was making earlier on stream, why I said what I said. Is like, yeah. Okay, so that's section 11 done already. How willing they are to recast regular Medea. I think it's really just going to come down to like what their plans for the future are for the Fate IP. And I really do mean that. Like, I've seen people say like, oh, they will not recast her. And I'm like, no, we actually see Japanese VAs getting recast all the time, even in the cases of like death and stuff. It is not a regular. However, if they don't plan to do anything with the character really ever again, then they don't have to recast her. But if they're like, oh, like for instance, let's say they did have like a Fate remake or something like that in the works, naturally you would have to recast her. That'd just be something that you would have to do for that to be able to succeed. So it really just depends on what like Nasu's plans are long term. Like, okay, I was gonna say it's like not letting me grab the support all of a sudden. Really don't want to keep her on the back line too much just because reasons. You can see I have it sorted by bond level, and like the problem I keep having is most of my units are already like bond 5. Mash is like free, so I don't even need to do that. She'll get there eventually. She's 0 party cost, which is really nice. On my own, here we go. Let's get Medusa leveled up. I'm mostly thinking about things like upgrades and stuff, and like the likelihood as well of me leveling the character. So you'll see me kind of just work on people, trying to get them to Bond 5, the goal being to get every single one of my units that I have possess at least to Bond 5. Obviously, you get them higher, and there's nothing wrong with that, but because Bond 5 is usually the point at which you'll have unlocked at least the Bond requirement for any strengthening or interludes. And so that way, like, then I just have to, like, level the character up, ascend them, usually through, like, their 3rd ascension. And from there, then they're good. So, like, getting characters through their 3rd ascension is usually not too terrible long term. Short term, sure, it feels awful, but like long term, it's usually something that's pretty easily doable for most characters, and it takes a lot less materials to ascend someone as it does to skill them. So this is why we say, like, you should probably level everybody. You should probably bond up everybody. Even if you don't have an intention to use the character, getting access to all of their strengthenings and interludes will, one, kind of prep them for if you do need to use them, and 2, get you access to a bunch of free resources they can drop, and 3, give you like basically like milestone progress and other things. Oh, Jaguar Warrior. Give me that triple arts. On 5 and 4 for 4, everyone. You don't necessarily even have to skill them up. But like I said, it's just a case of like for instance, 4-4-4ing everyone's really easy, assuming you have skill gems. So if you have done like lottos and stuff, that's a pretty easily doable thing. They remake the Fate route anime in 15 years. I mean, yeah, it might be a long time, but like, I will at least say this, at least probably into the future, they'll have better capability of like making high quality productions. So like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we had to wait longer. Other than like, I'd like to see it before I die. But I am at least worried about like in the anime industry, the trend of like, kind of outsourcing a lot of work and like kind of just working all the animators to death and stuff like that. So it's like, I worry that the future for the anime industry might not be as bright as it has been in the past. Cad, do you ever think we're getting Saber Wars 3? This basically all boils down to, do I ever feel like they're going to support the game after the end of part 2? I do feel like yes, but I don't feel like that's a 100% yes. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what they're doing. I'm making this content with the idea that like you guys can kind of get prepped, get ready in time for Ordeal Call 4 and stuff like that, but also like understand how the game works, understand how to develop your account, that sort of stuff. Teach you guys how to actually play the game. Because I feel like that's important. I feel like if you understand the game and you know how to play it, you will at least have a better concept of kind of what to do and how to manage your account. And long term, that's good, assuming there is a long term for the game. And I do believe there is. But what form that will take, we don't know yet. We will have to get to next year, basically, to see. I'm going to go ahead and invuln her just to get me that, since I don't have a lot in the way of charge here. Have I been cursed with Angry Mango in this account yet? No, I have not. Kind of funny. Yeah, I don't think they're necessarily going to just recast her for a summer unit. I feel like Medea, OG Medea Summer is probably off the table. But I guess the question is, who voiced Lily? Was it also her? Because if that's the case, then Medea Summer is out of the question regardless. Oh no, I've been debated. So we're going to go into the final battle here with nothing left in the tank. Because I was not paying attention and I did not look at how many enemies there were. But yeah, I would love to see a Saber Wars 3. I feel like that'd be a really interesting one because, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I love like the concept of like Saber Wars just because it's like a cool like space version of all the characters. But I would still like to see it. I just hope we don't get a 2.5 before part 3. Yeah, I kind of agree. The problem will be if they're not prepared for it. So, like, it really just boils down to, like, do you believe Nasu when he says that, like, they need a break and that they're, like, Like they had always planned for the story to have a conclusion here and stuff like that. I feel like he's saying some of those things in like half truths, that he's not lying, but I also feel like he's saying some of it basically because he knows that like this is kind of what he needs to do to throw people off the scent. That is to say, if they believe that the story ends here, it'll be much more impactful when it continues. And it's just something that that Nasu has a history of doing. And he's been working that angle for a while. Do you think we'll ever see another Luvia face, or do you think Estrella is the only one? I'm not going to say like never on that sort of thing, but I don't think it's got high odds. Like, for instance, this is... Well, we only have 2... 3... 4... 5 Rin faces? Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. So it's like, it's pretty clear, like, even for one of Fate's main heroines, that they, like... They don't necessarily go all out on that stuff. 3 Ishtar and 2 Arish, yeah. Okay, so it is a different VA. Interesting. Then maybe you do get a Medea, Lily. I mean, to be fair, we already kind of felt like that would be the case anyways because of FGO's stance on that stuff. Medea Lily's VA is Nursery Rhyme's VA. Also Fran and Mary Reed. Interesting. They had 10 years to do Summer Medea. They're not going to do it now. Well, hey, look, they had 10 years to do Summer Lolter. I still expect it. Okay. Okay. I see how it is. Honestly, I feel like these are just fodder and it's better to loop over them anyway, so we're just going to send it. Irregardless. Caster Arish would be nice. I always thought they would do like an Assassin Arish. That's what I thought like Summer Arish was going to be, was Assassin Arish. And then they never did that. But I don't know. I feel like they can at least do more with the Rin faces. It's been a thing for a hot second, obviously. May as well take the free charge on the supports. Give me Ryder Summer Koyan. I will see. Original FSN and Tsukihime units will always slay me. Yeah, it's so wild. I get why they kind of like want to go with newer stuff, but also at the same time, it's like you need to cash in on the nostalgia. I do feel like that's one of the problems that this game has, that it does like there's such a thing as like nostalgia baiting and like constantly doing nostalgia, but I feel like this game actually doesn't cash in on its nostalgia nearly often enough. Newer stuff hasn't been as good as older stuff. I think that's a matter of perspective, but I don't know, right? Like, I feel like it really just depends on your tastes and how you feel about the new stuff in particular and the new units. Like, if you like the new units, you're all like, oh, hell yeah. This will be a bit spicy. Hopefully the Sphinx is considered Earth attribute. And of course, now I get the Brave Chain. We good with that. Could go for more damage, but I don't think this is going to kill, so I'm going to go for more refund. Do you think we'll get Zelrich? No. I remember hearing people freak out when Arcuid came into the game and they thought that the game was ending because of that. And I said, no, why would it end because of that? That's I get it, but no, right? If Zelrich comes into the game is ending. I don't see any way around that. And I'm not meaning like making a cameo. I mean like if Zelrich becomes a playable character, this game is toast. There's just no way you're balancing that. I'm sorry. He would have to be like severely limited. Maybe make it like young Zelrich or something. We need more clap bat and fake go. Wait, what do you mean? I'm surprised we don't have more of the Samurai Remnant cast yet. There's a lot where like it feels like they have not like fully cashed in. And that's where I think like the issue is purely it's like a pacing issue mixed with a developer like time and resources issue. Why do I feel like that's Kets again? Yeah, why do I feel like that's Cats? Why do I feel like that's Cats? Cause it's Cats. No. This is actually one of the best parts of the story. This is Sky High Rider Justice Buster Bomb. If you know, you know. Am I gonna watch FNAF 2? I never saw the first FNAF. I've never played FNAF actually. But I'm also not like a huge horror guy, I guess. Not that I can't like dabble in it or play horror games, just that like I don't know. And we only have the one card for her right now. I am worried that Kets is gonna just grill me. Do it like that. Free card, get the arts in, so that way I at least get the extra NP gain on the quick card here. Hey, what's up, Master? Later, King. One down, one in. Because it's Cats, true. Cats is such a like I like Cuckoo, don't get me wrong, but Cats is such a character that is like underutilized, I feel like at this point. I feel like a lot of people like Cats, and they have barely given her any attention whatsoever. That 100% Buster card's too good to pass up. Cat's buff win? Yeah, she definitely needs a buff. And she also needs like another cameo. Like, I'll be honest, I like low-key, I want to see like a Cuckoo and Cats like team up thing. I feel like that'd be great. Bye, waiver. It's a real shame. Oh, the stun missed. Well, we're in my back line now. That's not a good thing. Screw it. Go with the Mighty Chain. Problem is Lady Avalon's probably going to die here soon, too. Well, level 1 backline characters be what they be. Oh, Fubakotora's leveled already. I forgot about this. Yep. And she guarded one. Should have popped that first. Dodge is probably better over here, but I would have liked the critical star generation. Yeah, we're just gonna go with it. We have a triple quick chain. I have lost some of her buffs. Watch as I charm her. Ah, it missed. Okay. Boy, that was a good evade. Now we stun her. So I could wait a turn and stun her, but I feel like Lady Avalon will just bite Zadusto if I do. So we're gonna play for, like, getting that guts popped if possible. Okay, now Ketz is gonna do her thing. That's not really gonna expire, so I'm just gonna let it. Crit, 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 crit. Ah. I wanted that arts card to crit. Should have put it in third slot. Alright, Cats, pick someone. And Sky High Rider Justice Buster Bomb! See, this is why Ketz needs more attention. She is such a great character. Alright, meanwhile, I'm sorry, Ketz, but it's time for you to go. Jack is also a really good unit to use here, and she can also buff strip Ketz. So, like, you don't even have to worry about her potentially getting the guts. Or again, like, you can also use someone like, say, like Nero Bride as a support, because she's not only a neutral class, but she's also Chaotic Bride as a alignment. So, like, there's different ways you can get through Cats. You just have to be careful. Find people that are either evil balanced or not good. Just don't take someone who's good. Someone who's good cannot do crap there. And there we go. We leveled up. When was the last time I saw that MP animation, right? Uma has a buff coming up next year, so I think that fixes her Imperial privilege. I believe so, yes. Yeah, a lot of the divine characters have pretty decently strong debuff resistance, ironically enough. Yeah, Castronito's a good farmer. Herc is okay here since he's neither good nor evil. Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think he's what is it? Chaotic Berserk or something like that? Hold on. I always forget what Hercules one is. Chaotic Insane. Yeah. He is Chaotic Insane alignment. A saber. Do you have a saber enemy here? Gonna take the Durga. Gonna flip a coin on Wednesday to determine which servant to get? Go for it. Take bad servants to beat cats. Yes. Same with Zerkalot and Mori. Yep. Ah, yes, chat. A luchador. Of course. Let's see what he has. Increased damage dealt against Divine. Fantastic. Good thing I brought a Divine Archer. Let's not let this guy hang around. So you're going to see me pop Proto Merlin's NP, aka Lady Avalon's NP here first, just because it's literally just me trying to get that additional like 5% charge per turn. Get smoted. Durga doing Durga things. It's going to be another single enemy, isn't it? Oh, no, it's just 2 luchadors now. I am definitely not going to have enough on this final wave, but you know what? We're good, at least here. If only he had a luchador mess, that would actually make me laugh. I'm sorry. I don't remember. Did I get Durga on my NA or was it my JP? I think it is my NA. Just mighty chain it. Yeah, I think it was a GSSR spook. Well, I say spook, but I think you got her from a single. Ooh, I didn't do my my JP story single, chat. You were reminding me about that. I still haven't missed one as far as I know. But I certainly have, I'm not gonna say like cut it close, but like realized right as I was going to bed. Which resets at like I think 3 p.m. so and this is why you don't want to let a Spriggan hang around. This man, if he gets a hold of Durga, is going to blast her. So the idea is not to let him. Like, bro will literally just, like, obliterate with stuff like that. Hey, Cat, is one Gina worth getting? I like her design, but I don't know if I should wait for a 5th copy of Castoria. I mean, the 5th copy of Castoria is not necessarily a big deal. I mean, if you want to, go for her. I don't think one Gina is a unit that has held up very well, but she's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. She just hasn't really gotten anything over the years here, and there are other single targets that people have a tendency to prefer. But if you like, you know, the fact that she's quick oriented, that can definitely work to your advantage. I would also blast Durga if I got a hold of her. Understandable. You'll notice a lot of times too, like for instance with Ibuki here, I'm not choosing the Ibuki that has Black Grail. This Ibuki would do a whole crap ton more damage than even the NP2 one that I'm taking. The reason I'm not choosing it is because that starts with 0% starting charge, and that is going to rely on me having to have a whole lot of refund. Currently, we don't have Castoria, but I probably will be rolling Castoria literally in 2 more days. So getting a Castoria, working on her, getting her online will go really far for being able to make a damage dealer loop for me. because I already have Proto Merlin, I already have Waver, so that will kind of be a third like art support. And I say third, Castoria would technically be the primary art support at that point, but it will help me out a ton for things like this. And then the loop ability will get a whole lot stronger. So you see me taking ones that have starting charge instead because it just kind of works a little bit easier for me. It allows me to get through the node in as painless a way as possible, which is really all I'm trying to prioritize here. Most of these nodes are not too difficult, especially with this setup. If you're struggling at this point, again, my advice is to basically go and work on some of your units. If you need advice on things like supports and stuff like that, like even someone like Hans can be a really good one, and he is a 2-star. So he can at least kind of be a like miniature sustained support for you. You have to be a little bit careful with his health, but that is what that is. But like the idea behind all of this should be that you want to get yourself to a point that you can quickly clear these nodes. It doesn't have to be a 3-turn, but at least like kind of get through them in a pretty consistent basis without like worrying about like going deep into your back line and the run falling apart and things like that. Pull for 1 Gina almost entirely because you like the character. Yep, 100%. And like I said, I don't think 1 Gina's bad. I just don't think 1 Gina has a like real big standout reason to pick her either. So it's basically a like, do you like the character? And we made it through in 3 turns. This is going to be a 3-turn loop for us. Assuming we kill the Gazer, which we should. It should be Earth attribute. Certainly not man. At least it shouldn't be. Story locked units are a pain in P5. They really are. It just is what it is at that point. One Gene is good, but in terms of single target quick, there's been new Dante's Shisho with a skill buff and Kama and P buff, which all steal a turn. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I don't really feel like 1 Gene is very standout at the current point in time, so there's no real dire reason. Okay, just real quick here, chat. Go run over here, do my roll, see what I get. I actually got a an Edison yesterday off of this, which was funny. I think it's my 2nd unit that I've gotten. Nothing there. All right. Back to Babylonia. And Babylonia will trudge on like this a little bit. There is story that's going on. It's really like cool and intriguing, but there's going to be a lot of fodder nodes like this where we're just kind of fighting off enemies. But you'll notice there'll be a point where the story to this singularity really picks up. And when it does, it becomes really clear. I've got an OG Atalanta and 2 5-star Cs so far. An OG Atalanta and 2 5-star Cs so far. Yeah, that honestly, that does not sound like that good by comparison because, for instance, I know somebody that has already gotten 3 SSRs off of it. Don't worry, I'm right there with you. Like my results have been kind of middling, if not that good, right? But yeah, I have a friend that has gotten 3. It is what it is. My 2nd Bedivere copy? I mean, that's actually kind of nice. I think like that's one of the reasons that they should keep it around is for things like Bedivere copies or Caster Coup copies, like characters that are kind of annoying to get otherwise. I feel like would be really like a good thing for them to do. Yeah, let's do that. That gives us 60%. I'll also do Lady Avalon's Noble Phantasm. I got my last copy of Surfmo and 128 Her today. Hypers, nice. One Kets and three SS and three SRs for me on those JP story rolls. Nice. Asclepius, yeah, Asclepius would be a really good get. I mean, the problem is, again, like, story banner is story banner, so you'll see, like, for as many times as you get something, there are also plenty of times that you do not get something. Like, and even the thing that you get is, like, maybe something you already had. This is usually why people tell you not to roll story. It's not because you can't get good things. It's because the odds of getting good things are not really in your favor. It is very easy for the game to be like, no, there is your 18th copy of Fion. Or like, you wanted Bedivere, but here is Faber instead. There's just nothing you can do about that. Well, I guess we're going to go with a resist card. Let's go with one that with a 50% crit chance. Old Man Lee right after completing LB3. Nice. Still an MP4 Asclepius on JP. It happens. So far I've come out empty-handed. Yeah. But no, I think in general having the free story roll is good, and I also think that at the end of the year they're going to extend it and make it a permanent feature, and then they're going to like wave their hands and everyone's going to be like, oh my god, this is amazing, they're so nice, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I called that 6 months ago. Right when it came out, I said, it's like, well, this A should be a permanent thing, and B, watch them do this later. And I think they will. I think that's going to be a thing. It might even go away for a little bit. Maybe, for instance, maybe it ends at the end of the year and then they bring it back for like 11th Annie and make it permanent. I could easily see the devs doing stuff like that. Making it permanent is an easy AF win. I really don't feel like they lose too much from it. I mean, yes, there are people that'll get like SSRs and stuff off of it, and long term, I think everybody does. But I think... Babylonia is a good story. So basically, and I remembered that's how that went. Basically, it's not that they don't like lose money off of giving it to us, but I really feel like the vast majority of people are not rolling the story banner, and I feel like that's a problem. It makes the game look kind of bad in that regard. And to be fair, if you're watching this, you absolutely should not normally roll the story banner. JP right now has a daily free story roll until the end of the year that they're doing as a means to like get people prepared basically for the end of part 2 story. I think it's a good thing that they're doing. I think it's something that should have been a thing already. So it's like, yes, they probably do lose at least a little bit in the long term. Because, like, for instance, maybe there's a character you would have rolled for, like, a second copy of or something like that, and you just get them in the story pool. That can be a way in which it would cost them a little, right? But also, like, long term, I really just don't see it being an issue. I feel like the amount of player enjoyment and satisfaction is worth the like potential small dip in revenue that you would get from something like that. Is to say, basically it buys you dividends. It makes people think that the game is a whole lot more how should I put it, like generous rather than seeming like it's stingy. And so I feel like in that regard, it works for you in the sense that like you actually have people that won't necessarily get as salty. You also have people that will maybe stick around longer because of that. And I feel like that then will be a net gain in revenue. That will be a net like positive for the developers in terms of like getting money. We also need an 11 golden ticket multi as well. I don't hate the fact that we don't, but I'm also somebody that has a tendency to like whatever the banner is that I'm pulling on, I immediately spend my tickets first if I have 10. But I do know people that save up to like 300 of them and then they try to roll that out. And so I absolutely understand why people want that and why it is a like problem. Oh. So it's like, and so just for reference for anybody watching, the reason people are asking for this is not that you don't get like the 11th spin. You do. People are basically wanting to be able to like spend 10 tickets at a time as a multi rather than doing it one by one. And yeah, it's just like a quality of life feature that people want. It would be a nice thing. There's also other gotchas that do the daily story single type of thing. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I guarantee that's where they got the idea, and it's absolutely something that they should be doing. I have an issue then with tickets. I have 700 or so. So you practically have pity off of just your tickets. Actually, no. You have pity twice over? Because it's what, 300 tickets for pity? Use your tickets before they get that high? Yeah, it's that sounds like a personal problem at that point. You might need to spend some of your tickets. I like how Ishtar's just sitting here going like, what the heck, man? So my logic there is saving for Aoko Alice. Hey, I mean, you got it. You could already spend 100 tickets and still have that. That still reminds me of the one guy that I was seeing that was rolling for, I think it was Castoria Berserker, and he was molding because he didn't like, he's like basically calling the game shit and saying that the gacha was crap because he basically couldn't get a copy of her. But meanwhile, he had rolled like way too much on Ask and had tried to get like Ask up to, I think, NP5 or something like that, and had to like quit early because he didn't get all the copies. So it's like, okay, I get that, but also like you didn't save enough to pity Castoria Berserker at all. That's your own fault that you didn't get her then. Like, I know nobody wants to hear that, but that is the problem that you have whenever you basically enter one of these like sort of joint roll sessions. Is like you should always save enough to be able to pity the second unit, if not. Because like maybe you get lucky and maybe you don't need it. Maybe you don't get lucky either. I remember sharing that tweet on Discord. I saw that tweet and thought it was ridiculous. It is. Like, I almost said something to the person and I was just like, no, dude. Like I'm not gonna be like that toxic individual. But to me, the problem was, if I remember correctly, I think the person was like threatening to quit for Honkai Star Rail, which, chat, if you ever see somebody say something like that, you know they're full of crap. Not that like they might not quit, just that like the whole reason they're saying it is just for attention. That's all it is. They just want pity, they want attention, and they want people to tell them, no, don't do it. And that's exactly why, at that point, you just don't say anything. Because it's like, bet. Do it. You won't. Why are you making ultimatums with the air? Pretty much, yeah. And look, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I've had many people that have come to me in this game, and they have said, like, CAD, if I don't get this unit, I'm going to quit. And I tell them just quit. And nobody likes hearing that, but the reason I say that to them, and I explain it, but I go like, the reason you need to hear that is because your mentality is wrong. If you're saying that you don't get the unit, you're going to quit. Eventually, you'll keep saying this, and eventually you won't get the unit. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Also, simultaneously, you will end up at a point of just going like, hey, I'm miserable and I'm always hating this game because I have this stance. So the idea behind it is as well that like at that point you're just saving yourself time if you do quit. You're saving yourself pain, you're saving yourself suffering. But the idea as well is just that like you have to have a little bit of willpower. You will always have to have this. This is just a life lesson in general. And you're going to have to like learn to deal with it. You're not always going to get what you want. And in FGO in particular, if you don't get what you want, there will always be another banner. And that's what I've always tried to tell people is like, it's not the end if you don't get the unit you want. It sucks. I hate it. I've been there myself on some of my accounts. You just have to sit there and go like, all right, I didn't get the unit. Now what? I guess I'll start like prepping for either the next unit or saving for that unit again. And I'll just wait for the next banner. And that's usually the way that I operate. And then from that, I'm usually pretty good as well. Like, I have a really good track record of getting a unit that I missed the first time on the second time. And I found that usually when the game screws you on one end, it has a tendency to, like, help you out on another end. I always say if not getting one unit makes you want to quit the game, just quit already. Yeah. And I think that's true of like any gacha game, really. Cat, if I get the unit, I will quit. Just quit. Because eventually you're going to get the unit you want. And you're not going to be able to handle that. I see a reverse psychology. And I reverse it. And gacha games RNG will eventually screw you. It's better to accept that. Yep. It really is. And that's why, like, look, I'm going to say this is also not something that people want to hear, but, like, if you find that playing, like, gacha games is frustrating and, like, unfair or costing you too much money and you don't like it, that's a good sign to, like, go get help. To basically go, like, okay, maybe I should quit. Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But I've also told people before, too, that, like, a little bit you have to have, again, that willpower. And that is the life lesson there. Is, like, if you don't have willpower to be able to, like, save for the things that you want, and you keep rolling on everything that you see that passes your fancy, you basically are going to have that issue no matter what you do in your life. You could go play another gacha game, and it'll happen there. You could go... you could quit gacha games, and you'll become a gambling addict. You could quit gambling and you'll become a smoking addict and you won't have the willpower to stop yourself from doing that. You could quit smoking and you'll become a porn addict and you'll become addicted to that. So it's like, it does not matter what you do, you have to have at least a little bit of willpower to tell yourself no at times. And it sucks. I get that nobody wants to have to, but well, life isn't fair sometimes. I quit JP for a year after I failed to get coin with 800 Sankorts. Yeah, and the reason why I tell you guys, like, as well, that it's not a good idea to, like, obviously it's not a good idea to say that and to have that mentality, but, like, the reason I'll tell you guys as well is because I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody that, like, quit, come back, and then they're like, man, I wish I had played during that time. Because they miss out on welfares, they miss out on courts, they miss out on units. And they sit there and they go like, crap, dude. Like, if I had just played and not like quit the game, I would be in so much of a better spot. Rather than like, oh, now I have to like make up for lost time. I have to catch up. I have to do all this other stuff. It's better to just kind of stay ahead. This is a question mark and an assassin. And we are still in the underworld. I know what the assassin is. Don't remember what the question mark is. Well, when in doubt, whenever you're faced with a question mark, Berserker is a pretty good way to go. And since we know it's a multi-enemy fight, this should work to our advantage, but we got to be a little bit careful. Just keep going with Resh Kagalcha. Entered the sea kelp, Michael Jordan. Yeah. Multi-pity coming soon, thank God. Yep. That'll be a nice thing for NA where pity applies to every SSR copy instead of just the first one on each banner. I don't know why they opted to do only the first one on each banner originally, but I suspect that they kind of knew that this was going to be a thing and that they would need to roll it out over time, and that's what they did. Because I've been effed so many times by the gacha. Yep. Also, hot take, FGO usually gives you fair rewards that aren't tied to a seasonal pass or subscriptions like you see with most other gacha games. That's not a hot take, but man, every time I say it on Twitter, it is. I have people that try to argue with me so much. I had somebody try to claim, what was it, like, that FGO was in fact not generous because they have only gotten 400 courts since last year. Since they blew their wad last year. Like, I've only gotten 400 courts since then. FGO is not generous at all. And I'm like, all you're doing is logging in. Because if you just log in during that time period, you would have already had 300 courts just from that. So that's how I knew. I was like, this guy is like not playing the game at all. It basically just doing the bare minimum. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you're not playing the game, you don't really get a right to complain about the game's mechanics. Like, I guess you can, but like nobody should listen to your opinion on them because you're not somebody that's actively playing an experience them. It's like the equivalent of somebody talking about how easy Midier is in Dark Souls 3 because they watched some dude speedrun it. And it's like you're living vicariously, you didn't actually like do anything to experience it. People would rather spend money and get mediocre items instead of all the free stuff FGO gives. I think like it's not that there's not strings attached, right? Like in order to get some of the stuff in FGO, do you have to play the game? Yes, but also it's a game. So play it. No, this is just like a logical thing to me. We get at least 2 pities per year. You can, I know for a fact that you can do 3 pities in a year because I've done it. I have physically experienced it. And I've had people say like, "Oh, you can't even get to pity in a year." And I'm like, "Okay." Sure. Yeah, that's a thing. This may be a little bit spicy. Let me see how my bonding is coming. Actually, don't hate having Fuma on the back line. Basically, just going to throw in Castoria Berserker just as a assurance. Do you only have 400 Sankar to get like 100 plus per month? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Fat meat and Ishtar. Uresh Kugal is good for the liver. I wish the game would have a commentary of like, stop picking Uresh Kugal or something. But yeah, no, it's like... I do understand why people have some issues with FGO, like long term and stuff like that. I myself have my own gripes with the game. I feel like anybody that's played FGO as long as I have naturally has issues with the game, which is funny because I do see people try to gaslight people and be like, "I love this game. There's nothing wrong with it." And I'm like, okay. But also, like, the game is not nearly as bad as people have would have you think. If you go and talk to other gacha gamers about this game, they will tell you that like FGO is like scum of the earth, that it's terrible, that it's like basically just the worst gacha out there. And yet the reality is they're just kind of like angry because they got like screwed on the Jelter banner back in the day or some shit. That's really all it is. People just lie about FGO so bad. They do. And sometimes I'm not sure if they like they don't realize that they're lying because they think what they're saying is true, or they just get caught with their pants down and then they try to claim like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know." Anybody that tries to claim there's nothing wrong with anything is talking out of their ass. Yeah. They're just envious how the game thrives despite its retro mechanics. It's funny, right? Because like I've seen people say like, "Oh, the gameplay of FGO is so dated," and I'm like, yes, turn-based gameplay. That thing that's been around since Check's Notes, chess. Like, yeah, damn, it's really bad. I'm like, honestly, some of my favorite games are turn-based. So I will say in that regard, if you do not like turn-based gameplay, then FGO is not for you. But as long as you can stomach it, it's fine. Yes, I just plug suited in for my Castoria Berserker to kind of cheat that one. FGO is the great equalizer, yeah. I do think that people are definitely upset though over like the success of the game, and that's why they get so bent out of shape about it. Whereas meanwhile, I feel like a lot of the times I'm having to like play defense in streams with, again, like we talked about, like you get other people running in here being like, "Oh yeah, but like, this gacha game is popping off right now. It's so hot right now. It's so good." And I'm like, hey, that's fine, right? Like, but also like, give it a rest. This is an FGO stream. It's not a stream for that other gacha game. So I feel like I said, I end up having to do a lot of defense in that regard, but it's not out of like saying like people can't go off and play the other gacha games, I guess. I do talk about how like there is a like bad tendency of players to play like every gacha game under the sun, and they functionally become gacha addicts and they spend all of their day playing it. I get why that's a thing, but I also don't necessarily think that that it's healthy. I totally understand like people that basically have like nothing else going on in their life and like they just need something to fill the time, and like maybe even like their life is kind of bad and gotcha games just make them feel good. So it's like I get that, because it is the same way with like me in college, at least to a degree, where like I spent a lot of my time playing MMOs because I could, because I was good at them and because I loved them. But like nowadays I'm a much more busy adult and I don't really have the time necessarily to like no life degen an MMO. So like MMOs are a lot less enjoyable for me nowadays because of that. So I think a lot of it's just life circumstances as to why people choose to and why people do. But I guess I don't make any judgment on people for doing that. I maybe only like judge them if they're trying to like we mentioned before earlier in the stream, like basically peer pressure people into trying to like play everything alongside them. And I'm like, okay, but not everybody is that way. Not everyone's going to be somebody that is I guess like gonna feel that itch to play everything. For instance, I have plenty of friends that like to play like live service games, and I don't particularly like live service model. It's not that I don't like the game. No, Erish, you're not at fault. This is somebody else's fault. Just that like I guess. I guess where like I said, it's like it's a problem when you're trying to get everybody else to do it. It's a problem when you're sorry, I just dropped my die. It's a problem when you are like wasting all of your time and you're wanting somebody else to waste all of their time too. Overall, what do you like more, turn-based strategy or real-time strategy? Oh, that depends. I feel like I've played way more turn-based strategy, but it is not a like... Oh, it's just one turn? Sweet. Get stunned. But it's not something that like I'm like necessarily opposed to. Like for instance, back in the day I played like Warcraft 3, I played Command and Conquer. So like it's not that I haven't played RTS, but I do feel like a lot of the RTS genre has... I stunned you and you still did that. Interesting. Okay, we're just gonna have to card you to death, I guess. This is gonna be one of those things. Or I'm going to have to get very lucky and just not like not get MP sealed or skill sealed on one of these units. So if you know about this, you can definitely like take a cleanse, or you can definitely take somebody that is like, say for instance, like skill immune or something like that. So for instance, Muramasa here actually resisted the skill seal, so I could potentially pop his stuff here. Unfortunately, I only have a singular Muramasa card and no stars. And Aresh Kagal here gonna beat me to death. At least at some point. So the other problem is Muramasa was actually a terrible pick for this because he is a single turn steroid. So popping it on a turn where it's disadvantageous is just bad. You can see everybody else is skill sealed. Pretty much everyone is to their NP, which is kind of wild. If I had her fully skilled up, I could NP with her right now, but I don't. Just gonna keep trying to card Erish down here, but we're probably dead on next turn. There she goes. Basically, just gonna give him dodge. Damn it. Shouldn't have done it. I didn't think it was gonna land, but I was like curious and I wanted to touch it. It's a very weird cadence. It basically, so this is happening out of normal order. So the stun goes off at the end of its turn, for instance, and then it acts at the beginning of your turn, which is very irregular. You do not normally encounter any enemy in the game that does that. So normally enemies only act on their own turn. Maybe there's like break bar effects and things like that, but they don't normally act after their turn ends because it's not their turn. So definitely a really irregular thing to see. I guess I just play for damage and laugh as like everybody dies and this turns into some sort of Castoria Berserker solo. Looks like Muramasa is still going to kind of tank it. Oh, that's just enough. That is just enough for a Noble Phantasm. So she managed not to MP seal him while he still had just enough charge for me to charge him with Castoria's middle skill to get him up to full to have him fire off a Noble Phantasm. And if I'm lucky, this... Nope, no crit. I was gonna say, if I'm lucky, I got a crit there and we kill, but... Muramasa actually manages to just tank it right out. Did not die in the end. Kind of impressive, not gonna lie. But yeah, it basically just boils down to you should take single targets for this fight, and you should potentially take a cleanse. If you're looking for a cleanse in Mystic Code form, the Atlas Academy Mystic Code, it should be one of the ones that you unlock basically in the Chaldea Gate, actually has a cleanse on it, and that'll buy you at least like one turn for somebody to Noble Phantasm on. And that probably will be enough to easily get you through this. So I did that the hard way. Don't do that how I did that. I managed to get gain 100 Saint Quartz in a single month from logging campaigns alone. Hell, you can get 60 Saint Quartz from upcoming campaigns. Yeah, the game is exceedingly generous no matter what people say. People will sit there and they'll claim otherwise. They'll say like, oh no, this is not a thing. But it really is. The game is not bad in that regard. Okay, Underworld section complete. So now we are on section 15, and that is where we'll stop for today. Babylonia is a long singularity. Fit's about to hit the Shan. So we will see that. But again, thank you guys for watching. Let me see who is on, if there's somebody I can give some love to. I see Mr. Sideswipe on. He is doing some Uma Musume. So I'm going to send you guys his way. Again, Mr. Side is a member of our stream team. So if you guys haven't already, go give that man a follow. And I will see you guys... Why is that invalid? It's invalid. Oh, because I'm typing swipe instead of sideswipe. And I will see you guys for the next one. So, thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. And may the courts be with you.